2017, the Imperial Beach City Council. As a courtesy to others, please silence your cell phones during the meeting and engage in conversations outside the chambers. Got a lot of folks here, a lot of things going on. So if you'd like to speak on any agenda item, then you can fill out the public comment card and hand it to our assistant city clerk. And if you'd like to speak on public comment, you can do that as well. Okay, thanks. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Spriggs?
Here.
Councilmember Patton?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bragg?
Here.
Mayor Dedina?
Here. And now I'd like to invite Janelle Alvarado from Emory School, my school back in 1971, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Janelle's an Emory sixth grader. She's welcomed 6 special education students into room 19. On her own volition, without any request from her teacher, she has taken on the role of an older sister, mentor, friend in need, and an overall one-girl support team. That's really, really awesome. This is a really caring community, so we're glad to have you here. Please rise.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job.
Mayor, did you send it to me?
Yes, Mayor and Council, we have a couple of agenda changes tonight. First, we are asking that you continue by motion item 4.3, which is a public hearing for a cell tower for AT&T to your January 17th, 2018. Hard to believe that's your next meeting, but your January 17th, 2018 meeting. We are also asking that you move item 5.1, which is the selection of a consultant to begin the design process for IB Boulevard, to consent. There's really nothing to talk about tonight. You have a long agenda. So we're looking for a motion for those 2 items. And then I would remind you that you did receive a number of last-minute agenda items pertaining to some of your items on the agenda tonight.
Second.
Motion carried unanimously.
We have now a council member announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple announcements, and one of them has to do with the League of California Cities. There's quite a bit of new developments. The League, of course, is all of the cities of the state of California who try to work together to ensure that the cities, what's the best way to put this, don't get shafted by the state when it comes to being stuck with unfunded mandates or dictates that take away your authority to hold us accountable for local actions like land use controls, etc., some of which you'll see on this evening's agenda. So I was in the league leaders meeting last Wednesday through Friday, which was in Santa Cruz, and the whole idea was to set the agenda and the priorities for 2018. And the 4 priority areas agreed on, and some of these are new compared to this past year, are transportation and infrastructure, and particularly protecting the gains that have been made already through state law and referenda that provide transportation money directly to cities like ours, double the amount that was ever provided in the past. So there's a desire to protect that because it's under attack from other from opponents to repeal it. Secondly, pension reform. Most cities in the state of California and in the country are in some degree of jeopardy because of unfunded pension obligations to their retirees, a group that grows over time. And the cities are very interested in this. The first time they've come together and wanted to make this a priority for a statewide solution. and that will help Imperial Beach. Although we're in good shape fiscally, eventually we're going to have problems in the future. Public safety is the third priority area, and you may recall that we enacted through a state referendum process the easing of criminal penalties, and as a result, the release or transfer of a number of convicted felons from the state prison system to the county prison system, and also the early release of a number of offenders. And the cities in the League of California Cities want this issue to be addressed because we've not been given the resources at the local level to address the consequences of that shift. So public safety is a priority. And finally, housing and, affordable housing and homelessness, which were priorities last year, continue to be priorities this year. I am going to be serving on the committee that deals with that last issue. I'll be serving as chair of it, the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee of the League. I will also continue to serve as one of the 6 members of the leadership committee for the Coastal Cities Interest Group, which is going to continue to get increasing staff support, addressing coastal cities' concerns. So next year is going to be a very busy year. I was also appointed to the environmental committee for the league. So that's going to tie in with the coastal cities and the well-being of our coastal environment. And it's going to require that I probably step away from some other responsibilities. And I think the mayor has been kind enough to go along with my request that I no longer serve as his second on Sandag here in San Diego because of these other responsibilities. So that's a consent item tonight that you can check on your agendas and see what's happening there. The other item I wanted to mention, very important, the International Boundary and Water Commission meets tomorrow evening at 6:30 in the estuary conference room or training room. And this is the first meeting this year, despite all of our issues and problems with cross-border sewage, that our commissioner, the American commissioner, Edward Ducina, is going to appear at. So I hope everyone turns out and gives him an appropriate welcome. I, for one, am going to announce that this will be my last time serving on the Citizens Forum for IBWC. I have served as co-chair this last year, and I've been very disappointed with Mr. Ducina's responses to his citizen board passing along of all of your and other citizens' complaints and concerns about what's going on with the cross-border pollution. So I will express some of that as my outgoing comment tomorrow night. So please come. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks for your leadership on the IBWC committee. I know it's been frustrating, but having you there has been really important for us, so I appreciate it. Yeah, leadership isn't easy.
You want me to re-up for another year, Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just real quick. This past weekend, I had the pleasure of welcoming Santa at Christmas comes to Imperial Beach, and he was looking very fit. I could tell he's been working out. And I want to thank the chamber and all the volunteers and the kids from South Bay Union School District. And it was a great event. And I always look forward to going to this event because it just brings out the best of everybody. So it was a great event. Hope you made it. Another event, my first time going, but definitely not my last. I went to the Women's Club Bazaar held at the Boys and Girls Club. And let me tell you, It was amazing. If you haven't had the chance to walk, it was like an indoor bazaar with craftsmen and women, photographers, sweater makers, you name it. But it was a great event with great prices that you could have done all your Christmas shopping. So if you didn't go this year, go next year. I was very impressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Mr. West.
one more thing.
Oh.
I want to thank everybody. This is my 5th year on City Council, and it's been a pleasure serving you. Thank you.
Mr. West.
Yeah, that was, I too was at the Holiday Bazaar. It was amazing. I totally agree. And the holidays are off to a great start. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I got a great audience tonight, and it's fabulous to see everybody here. On December 1st, I participated in the Christmas Camp Surf dinner celebration, and it was really great. Last Friday, they brought in all our local churches that came together to serve some of our people that are less fortunate than others. And we had a great turkey dinner, and it was a great time, and I really had a fabulous event. And then I was lucky enough on the December 5th, we did another celebration. The Navy held their 29th annual Christmas in Imperial Beach at Camp Surf. And again, it was just a great event. Oh yeah, here for the Navy. Yeah, I agree. As a veteran, I was really proud. It was great. They had three different commands, from their commanding officers all the way down to their most junior sailors, who served meals, and then they actually got together and they were the choir of they sang, and I thought they did a great job. It was fabulous. I had a great time. That morning I was off, and we did the South County Economic Development Council got together. They did their holiday breakfast, and it was a great event. It was a really interesting thing. We had first of all, Councilman David Alvarez, District 8, talked about, he really focused a lot on all the things that he is hoping to do for South County in his last year in office, because he is saying that he's going to be stepping away and moving on to other things. So, but he had a lot of great things. Talked about Palm Avenue, some upgrades that he wants to see and get done in his area of San Diego. And then we had a very moving discussion with Brad Fitt. And if you get a chance, Google his name. He's a Purple Heart recipient, motivational speaker, and he really rocked the house at the South County EDC, talking about all the things he did in Afghanistan and the things that he has gone through past his life. So I went through a point where he was completely destitute, homeless up in Los Angeles, and he's turned it around. He's an amazing individual. So upcoming events, I think that everybody I am pretty excited about it. December 9th, the ribbon cutting for our dog park is finally here. And I just want you to know, yeah. The council before, all of these members up here really set in motion a lot of the things that are happening. And I have been there almost every day with my dogs. And Nani is very excited. So she's been a big fan of it. But I will tell you, almost all of the people that have been there have been really receptive and very, very happy to see this, and they just want more things. So I highly recommend 4 o'clock, December 9th, come out. And then after that, as soon as you're done with that, rush over to La Posadas at Camp Surf. La Posadas, put on by United Methodist Church, is really a way to raise some funds for homelessness in our community. And La Posadas is all about accommodation and lodging. And it's really going back to the end of the story of the nativity of Jesus. So I highly recommend you come. Camp Surf is a great place, and it's going to be a fun evening. So one more thing. I know I'm taking too much time. December 11th, you need to come out and have your voice heard in our community. We are having our public workshop December 11th. It's at 6 o'clock in the community room. We're going to be talking about cannabis and the ways that you can have input on how this is brought and used in our community. So I really want to see our community come out and spend some time and talk about this, because we need the public input on how they want this rolled out. So please make some time, and we're going to feed you. So come on out. All right. That's all I got.
Great. Thank you, Pro Tem Bragg.
Thank you. As has been said, it's a busy time of year. I wanted to just briefly some of the things that have happened, and then some more upcoming things, as if we're not busy enough, all of us. On October 30th, I attended the LAFCO meeting. The mayor invited me to attend in his absence. LAFCO is the Local Agency Formation Commission. That's what it is, in case you're not sure of what it is. And what happens sometimes when you go to a meeting, you are appointed to be, I thought I was just going to the meeting. So I am now the alternate member of the South County Subregion for a term that will expire in 2019. I was nominated by Mayor Salas in Chula Vista, and was unanimously elected by the mayor's president. And I did bring that so everybody could see who was at that meeting. I will submit that to our city clerk. This morning I was at the Lausanne Corridor Board of Directors meeting. That is, Lausanne is our heavy rail component of transportation here in the state of California, from San Diego to San Luis Obispo. Under consideration today was Lausanne is conducting a survey of rates on Amtrak. It was my advocacy that the discount, the 15% discount that is extended to seniors and disabled riders remain in effect, and was supported unanimously by that board. So now coming to upcoming things, tomorrow is the 75th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. If you have an opportunity to be at Pier Plaza at about 7:45, lasts till about 8:30, please do. It's a very moving ceremony.
It's out on the pier, on Pier Plaza.
Pier, on the pier. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, for that clarification. Another great celebration happening December 11th at 5 o'clock. We have a ribbon cutting for our sports park playground equipment. So if you haven't seen it, please go by. We're very proud of it, and the community appears to be loving it. So please go by that. December 15th, I hope I'm not stealing our librarian's thunder. We do have the the Imperial Beach Library mural recognition. That time has been moved to 9:30. So please attend that. This is an award-winning library, and the mural is incredible. On December 11th and 16th, if you have not had any opportunities, although they have been plentiful, these are two more opportunities for food giving. So MTS is doing a Stuff the Bus, and they will have MTS buses at any Vons or Albertsons from 8 to 12 a.m. or p.m. From 11 on December 11th and December 16th. And then lastly, on December 4th, the Imperial Beach Historical Society hosted their holiday open house, and many members of the audience were there, the Odermats and Kathy Wakefield. Thank you so much for attending, and the Historical Society continues to add more items to the collection. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Great to see everybody here. My voice goes, just to forgive me. Like I said, I got on a plane early, come back from Chicago from the North American Climate Summit. I'll talk about that in a second. A couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with the City of National City, the City of Chula Vista, the City of San Diego, the County of San Diego, the Port of San Diego, and the Regional Water Quality Control Board to talk about our impending lawsuit against the International Boundary and Water Commission for issues related to the pollution in the Tijuana River. The issue discussed was the fact that on December 11th, the Department of Justice has invited us to, quote, a workshop. We're not sure if it's a back rub workshop, or it's a knitting workshop, or it's a yoga workshop, but we don't like the word workshop. We like the word meeting, to talk specifically about, hopefully, solutions to this issue. The consensus was that unless the Department of Justice wasn't interested in coming up with a plan and a budget and a timeline, then we probably weren't that interested in attending the meeting. So we're seeing that. It was nice to see the Regional Water Board there. I also want to say it was really nice to see our neighbors from National City and Chula Vista and their unequivocal support for this. They're not doing it. They're doing it for all the right reasons, and also because they know we're part of the South Bay family. So really, really nice to see that. I really appreciate their support. I bet I can issue tea here with honey. So anyway, I hope that'll help. So had a great meeting. Got invited to the North American Climate Summit in Chicago. Dante, that was paid for, by the way. We didn't cost us a dime. So awesome. Thanks. The next time you need to know something, just ask me. Anyway, great meeting. Mayors from all over North America and internationally and really talking about concrete things that cities can do to improve the quality of life and the environment. Meeting was kicked off by the mayor of Vancouver and mayors from small cities and big cities across North America. So that was really cool. Sat next to a mayor from a town in Oregon of like 400 people, then talked to the mayor of Austin, talked to the mayor of Mexico City, talked to the mayor of Paris. So really interesting group of mayors. And really the consensus was being green and sustainable is great for the economy, great for quality of life. And if you look at the most dynamic cities with the greatest economies, and the mayor of Vancouver said they made a decision to be the greenest city in the world. They have the lowest emissions of any city in North America, but more importantly, the strongest economy in Canada. So really highlighting this fact that businesses and residents want to see their communities have a clean environment. And we know the cost of a city that hasn't made any commitment at all to being green, and that's a city of Tijuana. So we're suffering from that. But yesterday, President Obama sort of closed the meeting and really talked about the need that climate leadership just doesn't happen at the top. It happens at home. Really inspiring talk. And again, talking about real practical things and the idea that mayors and council members focus on solving problems, not ideology, not politics, not theory, but actually getting things done on the ground. So that was really nice. Had a great chance to talk about sea level rise with the mayors of San Francisco, Vancouver, Santa Monica, and Beverly, Massachusetts, a super cool town, 13 miles of coastline. So lots of good ideas shared there. Really liked the mayor of San Francisco, Ed Lee, who really talked about the need just to basically start investing in infrastructure, not to wait. So really shared that affinity with IB. Talked about the really great success of our dockless bike sharing program. And just to date, 15,000 rides on the Lime bikes. 43% of those riders, 15,000 rides. It's amazing. 43% of those riders are obviously from IB, and they're riding to bus stops. 43%. It's very clear, and it's clear that kids in Mar Vista High School love Lime bikes. That data on Lime bikes is actually a national success story because I talked to the environmental director of the city of Washington, or Washington, D.C., who set up a bike sharing program with 4 companies, Lime Bike, Spin, and a couple of other ones. He hadn't gotten the data back from them yet. He didn't know how their residents were using it. So when he heard about how successful our residents have been using it to get to the bus stop, thought that was really cool. So did the mayor of Evanston, Illinois, where Northwestern University is, and was going to follow up with Lime Bike to talk about that. So really great that IB is leading the country in dockless bike sharing, leading the country in getting our residents to use those bikes to get to the bus. So super cool connection, and shared that data with Sandag as well. And they were very excited about. I actually led a panel on solid waste and zero waste management with the mayor of Missoula, Montana, and the very cool mayor of Honolulu, Hawaii. So if you're a surfer, sharing the table with the mayor of Honolulu, who's basically the mayor of all of Oahu, is pretty awesome. So that was cool, but had great conversations with the mayors of Austin, Chicago, Knoxville, Tennessee. In Pittsburgh, the mayor partnered with Carnegie Mellon to put sensors on the cars from Google when they go around taking pictures of the streets. They're detecting methane and gas leaks under the ground, right? So just a lot of good ideas and a lot of things about being practical and things that help improve the quality of life. Talked about sewer management with the mayor of St. Petersburg, Florida. They got to spend $300 million to improve their sewage system. Because when it rains, guess what happens in Florida as a result of climate change? More water flowing than ever, and their water and sewer system comes into their together, their stormwater and sewer system. So interesting. And I asked him, well, why didn't other mayors deal with it? He goes, oh, they passed the buck. So that's why it's important to address these issues now. And finally, the very cool, if you watch Portlandia, one of my favorite shows, the very cool Portlandia-like mayor of Portland, and I talked about dog park management. So it was a really, really great workshop. Loved the city of Chicago, a lot of great music. They had a lot of great blues and a lot of kids, real emphasis in Chicago on kids. And I was also heard from the mayor of Evanston, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, that they got $1 million a year from Northwestern University. They had a bad relationship with the university, but they forged that, and Evanston's giving the city, or Northwestern's giving the city $1 million a year, and he goes, all that money goes back into programs for kids. So it's really nice to see that all the work that we're doing here as a community, first of all, treating each other with respect, creating a caring community, investing our kids and families, but creating a great quality of life, and taking risks and doing things that are innovative, like this dockless bike sharing, because frankly, we didn't know how it was going to turn out. We thought it was going to be for tourists, we didn't know that it really our residents who needed to get to the bus, who live in apartment buildings mostly, we're going to be adopting that. So I want to thank the city council, our city staff, more importantly, all of you have contributed to this idea that we can forge our own destiny in IB. We don't have to accept the fact that we let others decide for us. We're going to move forward and continue to invest in the things that have a great quality of life for IB. So lost my voice talking so much, but it was really great to be there, and I appreciate the fact that the council approved me going. All right, I don't have any blue cards. Are there any?
I think there are, but I have a couple of things.
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
thank you for that leadership of the
Oh,
climate.
it was
We
fun.
really, I was very proud to know that my mayor was sitting with them. So thank you so much.
Great, thanks. Mr.
Yeah,
Hall.
Mayor and Council and residents, you may see some of our city employees going around in vests and knocking on your doors. We're doing some address verifications for the upcoming census and for our sewer system and some of those kinds of things. So if you see people out there, they should have a badge. They should have a safety vest on. So if someone like that's knocking on your door, they're from the city, they don't have a badge, they don't have a safety vest, be a little bit more skeptical, but you may see some of them in your neighborhood. The other thing we want to let people know is that beginning about a week from now, the admin office, which is the city manager's office, city clerk's office, and the HR office at City Hall, will be moving into the community room for about 3 weeks while we remove the carpet and some asbestos that we have in the building here, and we'll be replacing the flooring in this building. So if you need services from those 3 departments, they'll be in the community room. So we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. So thank you for that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just received an email from Councilmember Alvarez's staff late this afternoon. I don't know if anyone else on the council received it, but none of us made reference to it. And I think it's important for our community to know that even though this is last minute notice, tomorrow there's going to be a meeting from 5:30 to 7 on the Palm Avenue from the 5 to our city limits at 13th Street. That's the emphasis of it, but the whole Palm Avenue corridor is going to be discussed. And this is, I guess, under the leadership of David Alvarez and maybe some city staff. And as you know from our discussion about Super 8 and San Diego taking that over and turning it into a sort of halfway house, we all and many members of the community expressed concerns that part of Palm Avenue is being neglected and has for many years been neglected by the city of San Diego. So that's the gateway to us. And what happens there is going to have a spillover effect on us, just like the halfway house will. So if any of you are interested in, attending this is at the same time as I have to be at the IBWC meeting. So if you're not going to the IBWC meeting, go to that one and represent Imperial Beach's interests and concerns with the city of San Diego on that part of our thoroughfare. So, all right. It's going to be at the Robert Eggers South Bay Recreation Center, 1885 Coronado Avenue. So it's right down IB Boulevard to the Recreation Center over on the right side.
Councilman Spriggs, I should probably follow that up with the City of San Diego City Council will be holding a public hearing on that item at the City Council chambers on Monday, December 11th at 1:00 p.m. And that's downtown in the City Council chambers, 12th floor, City Hall. I think we already did.
Great, we have public comment now. I know Mark Southern is standing outside, so Mark, if you want to come in, we can get you first. You don't have to stand outside for a long time. Is Mark out there?
People outside, yeah, so we may have a little bit of.
All right, well, while we're waiting for Mark Sutherland, if you can hear I'll start Valerie Aceves. Oh, Mark, there you go.
Hello, Mark Sutherland, 1160 Boulevard Avenue. I don't know if I'm in the right place, but if not, you can convey this to who is responsible for it.
And Mr. Sutherland, just put the speaker down there. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, this help?
Yep.
Whoever cleaned up the dry brush over in our neighborhood, we really appreciate it. And Is there going to be a program where we continue keeping that area clean?
Yes, thank you for that. We have been much more, I think, aggressive on some of the vacant lots and some of the weeds and stuff. We plan to continue that and maybe even accelerate those efforts. So,
Thank you. I'll
and it's
take
our
it back to the
great public
neighborhoods.
works.
And Mr. Sutherland, anytime you have an issue, feel free to contact me or one of the council members of the city manager, and by email, or you can call us and we can make sure to get that taken care of.
If I know who to contact and have that information, you would have heard from me before now.
Okay, we'll make sure we get that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just feel free to call City Hall and ask for Andy.
Thank you.
I think Ed's going to get you his card. There you go. All right, thank you. Thanks for coming out. Valerie Aceves.
Hi, Valeria Aceves, IB Chamber, PO Box 506, Imperial Beach. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing me to speak. The city of Imperial Beach is a small community with a huge heart. And between the community and the businesses, we had a fantastic Christmas comes to IB this last weekend. There was so much help. The Job Corps brought us cookies. The YMCA brought us cookies. The Women's Club did the coffee. We had 2 Mrs. Clauses. There was Santa Claus. We have a beautiful tree that, you know, it's 12 feet tall or larger. We're not really sure on that. 2 young ladies came out of nowhere and decorated that tree. And so we were able to do other things while they decorated that tree, and it turned out to be really nice. And then they disappeared. So I don't know what happened to them. So it was a fantastic event. I'm sure there are some things that we can change. There's always room for betterment. Thank you, Lori, for the candy canes. It seemed like last year they had run out, so this year everybody brought us candy canes, so we have a few left over. It was a good event. I can't really say anything bad about it. Everybody seemed to be fairly happy. We had some really good raffles. We worked with the South Bay Union School District and handed out 24 bikes to 2 students per school in the South Bay Union District. Well received by the parents and the children. I saw some crying, some jumping, lots of tears. So we were able to, 5 students couldn't make it, but we got it back over to the school. On top of that, we also had 8 extra bikes, which we raffled off to the community. So between that and that, there had to be some pretty happy things in the area. There was 1 broken bike, but we just kind of auctioned it up, you know, raffled it off and said, we'll help you fix that bike. But other than that, I think it was an awesome success, and I'm hoping that next year it can be bigger and better. Many people that were there want to be a part of it again next year. So that always tells me that that's a positive thing. If someone says, hey, don't forget about me. And so we feel that that was a very good success, and I'm looking forward to next. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dante Pimentuan.
Hello, good evening. 2 public comments tonight.
First, yeah, your other one needs to be, we'll do it afterwards.
Which one?
2.7.
Yeah, I have 2 announcements to make, so.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. The first one, I just want to say, Mayor and City Council members, first and foremost, thank you for your service to our community. Together with our, I mean, really, together with our amazing city staff and Imperial Beach, we're getting better and better every day. So really want to give it to you guys. We're working hard this year. A lot of times we don't really give a lot of recognition. You know, it's always something that is not said so often. So I just want to, as this year ends, there have been many things about Imperial Beach that we can reflect upon. As an optimist, I reflect on the positive. For example, the winter storms in January that pounded IB with strong winds and heavy rainfall activated our community for awareness and preparation. It was amazing to see neighbors helping neighbors. We witnessed our city staff go into action with emergency preparedness and constant communication. In February, 220 million gallon sewage spill from Mexico activated our residents, a lot of them are here, to act and get involved with our beaches. The goal of clean beaches for all has been the rallying cry for many years. Now a movement has solidified that incorporates local, state, federal, and binational cooperation. The solution for a cleaner IB is right around the corner. With a newer and better image of itself, Imperial Beach can strive for more visitors that help our local economy with jobs and prosperity. With the continued success of our city events such as Taste of IB, Bring Back the Boom Fireworks, and the Sun and Sea Fest, more families are enjoying the vibe of Imperial Beach than ever before. Smart growth development of our business districts have encouraged more traffic and positive image of Imperial Beach. For example, our Ninth and Palm Breakwater Shopping Center and the approval of 2 hotels that cater to all demographics. This renewal and revival of Imperial Beach is most welcome. As we enter 2018, we will face a few issues that need serious debate and consideration. Legalized marijuana, increase in homeless population, traffic, and crime. I'm confident that as we work together to help find solutions, that Imperial Beach will continue to prosper. I want to thank you again for your service and keeping Imperial Beach the focus of your hard work and efforts. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. God bless you. Really, really appreciate everything you do.
Right, thank you.
So my other announcement, wanted to make a
It's
formal
been-
announcement, which is the Imperial Beach Athletic Club is now official. It's called IBAC. So we're going to be making a big announcement and impact here in 2018. We're looking forward to working with everybody here in Imperial Beach. Okay.
Great, June Engel.
Sure. June Engel, branch manager of the Imperial Beach Library, 810 Imperial Beach Boulevard, and the clock is going. Okay, it is. I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. I was going to go on my little bragging speed about going into that national magazine. I'm very excited about it. I grew up reading that magazine and looking at these wonderful libraries. To open it up and see us, a picture of our library in this magazine that's also an international magazine. This is Architecture on Libraries. I know, don't fall asleep or yawn. But it's a really big deal to me, and I really hope that you guys understand how excited I am about that. So when I say I'm bragging, I'm bragging. Okay, busy time of year. We've got 3 things coming up next week. On Wednesday, we're going to host for the first time our first art exhibit in the library, and it's be sponsored by the Imperial Beach Senior Center. Our seniors are going to come. We're going to have a little reception. It's in conjunction with our annual holiday party where the Mar Vista High School brand new band, string quartet, is going to come and play for us. So I know the mayor's going to step in for a few minutes. I wanted to invite you all to come. Please come to the library, view the exhibit. I'm very proud of our seniors. I'm also so excited. This is something I know Lori knows I've been dreaming about for years and saying that our first exhibit is going to be the Senior Center. I don't care who talks to me. It's going to be the Senior Center. So that's a big event on Wednesday. It is going to be at 6:30 on Wednesday. As Lori mentioned, on Friday, we are going to be having an unveiling of that really beautiful mural, which is out at the entrance of our library. The community was asked to bring in pieces of pottery and tiles and stuff to be incorporated in. They've done a really wonderful job. If you look really close to the upper right-hand corner, little white kitty, that's my little white kitty London right there. And so I'm excited to have my cat in there. But there's a lot of other things in there. People are watching it, looking at it. It's just a beautiful, exquisite mural. Blew me away. It's not what I expected at all, because I've seen some really, not really cool murals at some of our other libraries. And I didn't say that. Okay, the last thing is that this Saturday is our annual Santa Comes to IB. And this is a program that we put together so that you don't have to go to the mall. You don't have to go spend all that money taking pictures with Santa. We have our own Santa. We do a really nice backdrop. You bring your cell phone or your camera. You bring the kids. They sit with Santa. You take the pictures. They're all yours to take care of. We also have a little craft that we're doing. The fire department always comes and helps us with that as well. And we're going to have cookies from Town and Country, which is always absolutely wonderful. We always ask for extra because, you know, not all of them make it from Town and Country to the library. I don't know how that happens. It's design driving. But some great events coming up. I hope you guys can all come. And Lori mentioned it. I had brought the final invitation came today, so I did bring the invitation to send around to you, and I'll give. Thank you, guys. Santa Comes IB is from 10 to 12 at the library.
What time does Santa show up, you know?
Santa shows up about 10 o'clock. We're not doing anything special because we're not going to move everyone out of line and then everyone back into line, but there'll be an entrance into the community.
Great.
Fanfare. And also the high school street quartet is also playing there as well. So we'll have
That's
live
awesome.
music.
Right.
June, could you send us the link to the article, the magazine?
magazine, I'd be happy to do that.
That'd be great.
I shot it off to a couple people bragging already. Not a problem.
Great.
No problem. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. You can speak, but
Thank you so much. Now we have presentations 1.1 recognition of Fire Prevention Week and poster contest winners. And Fire Chief John French will give the presentation. And then you're going to announce the winners, right? Yeah. Okay.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, every year for our Fire Prevention Week, our fire department goes out to all the elementary schools and they do an assembly for all the second grade classrooms. And we talk about fire prevention and kind of get the word out about what the saying is for that month and what prevention is, theme is. And this year it was every second counts, planned 2 ways out. So as part of that, we have a coloring contest and we pick a winner from each school. So tonight we'd like to recognize the 4 winners of the coloring contest. And along with that, they get the recognition here tonight, but they also get a plaque for their classroom that, so that teacher will get bragging rights and that class will get bragging rights. And they also get an ice cream party along with that. So
that's nice.
Each winner, their class gets an ice cream party and the firefighters go out and serve up ice cream. So I'm going to turn this over to Corey and he's going to announce the winners. Corey has been in charge of this program for the last 5 years, so I want to give him the honor of announcing the winner.
All right, thank you.
So the first winner we have is Fabian Garcia from Central School. Fabian, right? They did a great job.
We have those? Oh, no, yeah. Oh, these have like the original.
The next student we have is Harold French, no relation to our chief, from Oneonta Elementary. Harold. And Shane Zen. Shane Zen. From Ivy and Monique Langarica from Bayside. So we'll hang on to this. So we'll be by your schools for an ice cream party, and we'll bring your plaques with your names on it for the teachers to hang in the classroom.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my God, that's great. So you give them the photo, want to give them the picture? Let the firefighters go. That's great. Come on, guys. This is all right, on count of 3. 1, 2. Great, we have all kinds of greats. So I also want to thank Katie McNamara, superintendent of our amazing South Bay Union School District, for being here, because we're doing a lot to honor teachers and students today. So, including one of my neighbors. So anyway, now we have a salute to teachers, recognition of Ben Swearingen, one of my neighbors, lives around the corner, Imperial Beach Charter School, and Hugo Carmona of Cox Communications will give the presentation. Hugo, are you here? Oh yeah. You're gonna give the presentation, right? No, I thought you were doing the teacher thing, or not? Teacher? Oh. Yeah. So I'm just following the script.
No, my apologies. Hugo Carmona with Cox Communications. We every year we put on our event Salute to Teachers in coordination with the San Diego County Office of Education. It's a one-of-a-kind live award show, kind of like the Oscars for teachers. And we held it in September, and Mr. Swearingen was one of our 5 county honorees. And we thought, since he is a local teacher from the city of Imperial Beach, that the city council might want to recognize his significant contributions to the school district. So that's why we thought it might be a good idea for him to come today and be recognized. And I'd like to invite him up here today if he wants to give a few remarks.
And I know we have some teachers on the council, so I know the hard work we do. Thank you guys so much for the honor. It really is an honor. Mayor Dedina, council members, fellow citizens. Thank you, Dr. McNamara, Principal Griffith, Vice Principal Reyes, for being here and for all the support you've given me and in our community. It's an honor to be recognized today as the first representative of the teachers, students, and families from the South Bay Union School District in the history of this award. As a teacher of 13 years in the South Bay, having taught at Berry, Oneonta, and Imperial Beach elementary schools, as well as one of the high-tech high charter schools, I've had the privilege of spending every working day with the youth that are the future of Imperial Beach, San Diego County, and this country. I've seen their great potential as well as the trials so many endure on their path to the future. The students of our community have a lot going for them. First and foremost, they live in this incredible environment with their sunny beach, estuary, and riparian parks and trails. Second, they are blessed to be immersed in a diverse, multicultural crossroads community. And so many of our students are raised biculturally and bilingually with all the benefits that bestows. However, the students of our community face numerous and significant challenges as well. First and foremost is the fact that 71% of our students are economically disadvantaged. Due to this, all of our schools are classified as Title I, meaning they qualify for federal funding to alleviate the effects of poverty. Recently, we also have had an influx of some refugees from East Africa, and they are integrating quickly into our community, but we are struggling to figure out how best to help them. While our schools also feed students 2 meals a day, we're unable to meet all their needs. Collaboration with local organizations like our Hunger Collective that, Mayor, I know you were one of the co-founders of, can make a huge difference. Many students also come to our schools in tattered clothes. Others have parents who work the night shift or multiple jobs and find it hard to support their child with homework or other needs. I've also had many students with parents, one, sometimes both, in prison or just recently released after years of incarceration, or in rehab, or even killed in gang violence. Finally, some 59 students in our district currently are in foster care, legally classified as homeless, and often struggle with the psychological impacts of this. The level of trauma in some of our kids and their families is significant. While our schools have psychologists, they are often overwhelmed with evaluating the learning challenges of students that they are legally required to do, leaving them little time to counsel the overwhelming number of students who need mental counseling. Therefore, much of this falls by default onto the teachers who are not trained to counsel and have curriculum and administrative tasks to also juggle. While the school district and the city are under separate administrative jurisdictions, there's ample opportunity for cooperation that could mutually benefit our community. For example, I worked with IB Beautiful a few years ago to obtain funding for a much needed garden barn to store tools and supplies for our school garden. It's bloomed into a beautiful, full functioning learning lab, and I invite all to come and see it. I know the city has coordinated with the district on the new sidewalks and fencing just recently with the Elm redevelopment. I would like to see this partnerships like this go beyond infrastructure to community services. While we have the sports and skate parks and Boys and Girls Club, our kids are on the north and east side of the city have few safe after school places to go. I would like to see more parks and recreation centers. One immediate opportunity would be for our schools to open up more of their fields to the community after hours and on the weekends. With precious few open spaces for sports like soccer that are very popular in this community, the city might, for example, partner by providing lighting for evening team practices in the winter months. Another area for very effective collaboration would be school-based health clinics. These kind of one-stop clinics, like the school health clinics of Santa Clara County, are becoming popular in many schools around the country. These are clinics that provide basic health services for students and their families, like vaccinations, diabetes counseling, as well as mental health services. By serving the whole family and providing an on-campus site for addressing many school students' health needs, the student is healthier and spends less time out of school for health-related issues. We've had a significant decline in enrollment, decline in attendance, even as our enrollment has stabilized. And this can help with this issue by maintaining the health of our students and promoting them to thrive. One way that members can get immediately involved is through our LCAP committee. That's the Local Control Accountability Plan. There's a new funding formula for schools in the state of California where funding is not in all these separate categories. We get a larger sum of it, and it's up to the communities to develop a plan and decide how that money is spent, and then review that plan every year to make sure that it's being implemented. And we are in need of community members and parents to join that committee. So please come and join us. Our schools are not just community hubs of our neighborhoods. They're the principal place that our students learn to become productive and engaged citizens. By working with our political and community leaders, we can make our schools into community building centers for a brighter IB and San Diego future. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Wow. There's a reason why you won that award. That was one of the better policy speeches I've had since I've been mayor, so thank you. Really educational. No, really educational. Really important for you to talk to us about that with some clear data. So and some policy recommendations. Really appreciate that. Good role model for other residents to talk about how to be an effective public speaker. So thank you so much. Should be proud of him, Katie. So anyway, good. Yeah, we'll do a photo. Yeah.
All right, count of three. 1, 2. At least remember.
All right, Hugo. Now, sorry about the confusion. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Yeah. Quick, because we got a lot of business to go on. Oh.
I wouldn't want this to just go by the things that you said, not only the quality of your presentation, but the content. And as someone who's been an educator at the university level for many years, retired now, I've long searched for ways to connect, what we do at the city, our jurisdiction, as you pointed out, versus the school system. Your ideas are great. And I would like us to find a way to explore how we can make that more systematic. Because we do have these wonderful schools in our community, and we're like arm's length removed from some sort of organized approach to how we can help. I think that should change.
Maybe that can be a policy discussion for 2018.
Yes.
Maybe that's something we do a little special council meeting. I mean, that's something we've talked about. I know they're really trying to be more collaborative with our school district. So I know something we'd all, yeah, that'd be great. So thank you for that suggestion. All right, now we have finally, Mr. Carmona from Cox Communications.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and City Council, I thought tonight might be a good opportunity to give you all an industry update and some of the things we've been working on. I'm kind of second guessing that now, given the length of the agenda. But I did want to start off by saying that I'd love to have a more detailed and substantive discussion with all of you individually. So I will follow up. Given the short nature of my remarks tonight, I will keep it extremely brief. I did want to start off usually my remarks. I'd like to point out that most folks know about Cox Communications, but we are a family of companies, and we especially have Cox Automotive here in California. Mannheim is headquartered in Riverside. Kelly Blue Book is in Irvine. Dealer Track is in Sacramento, and then Cox Communications, as you'll see from the next slide, our markets in California are Santa Barbara, Palos Verdes, South Orange County, and San Diego. Collectively, we have a pretty strong statewide presence in California. That means we are heavily invested in our communities, including the city of Imperial Beach. I wanted to briefly touch on DIFCA, the Digital Infrastructure and Video Competition Act of 2006. It's a state statute that was enacted in 2006, as you may have guessed. It is the main regulatory scheme with how cable operators work with cities and localities and counties. As is mentioned in the slide, we do pay 5% of our video revenue in franchise fees to the city of Imperial Beach. And then there are other regulations that are preserved within DIFCA related to public education and government channels, as well as the city's ability to enforce customer service standards. So as long as I was here tonight, I did want to remind the City Council of this. If you hear from residents about some of the issues they're having, there are obviously regulations in place, but I'm here to obviously support you and make sure that your residents' needs are being met. So obviously feel free to call me or email me with any issues you may be seeing. And then finally, this slide does not really say much. I did that on purpose, but I wanted to talk about some of our network investments that we're going to be doing over the next 5 to 10 years. We're rolling something out. It's not very creative. It's Network Transformation 2.0. It's an initiative that we are doing. It's billions with a B dollars of investment into our fiber network that we are maintaining and operating. The reason we're doing that is because we're seeing an increase in data demand doubling over every 2 years. And the average family of 4, their home has about 6 connected devices right now. We're going to see that increase to about 50 connected devices over the next 5 to 10 years. And that's going to require a lot more bandwidth, a lot more data demands, and we are going to have to transform our network to make sure that those demands are being met. So that's really all I had for you all tonight. And like I said, I wanted to be brief to make sure that you all get to your city business. But with any questions or concerns, I'm happy to follow up individually or tonight if you have any questions.
Questions, comments? Thanks for that spot on summary. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Great. Now we have consent calendar 2.1 to 2.9. And I know we have a long business. Anybody who came here for other things you want to leave, please feel free. You won't insult us. We can have it's going to be a long night. So yeah, feel free. We'll pause for 10 seconds so you guys can make a graceful exit.
You guys were just waiting for that, weren't you?
So we have 2 people with public comments before the consent calendar. And Ginger Sacco. And they're both items 2.7, sorry.
Sorry, I'm a little shorter. Good evening. My name is Ginger Sacco, 1390 Santa Alicia Ave, Chula Vista. I'm coming here to just give you an update. Citizens Against Sewage has been out in the public quite often. First, I want to thank y'all, Mayor Dedina and the council, for working so diligently and just pushing on IBWC and the transboundary sewage issues. Your efforts motivated me to try to unite the 5 cities that we spoke about. And we did get them on the lawsuit one way, either funding it or backing it or signing on to it. And then we, of course, got the Port of San Diego and the County of San Diego as a bonus. So that was awesome. So recently we met with County Board Supervisor Greg Cox himself, and we talked about SB 507. And the biggest takeaway we got out of that was he was really angry that $500,000 got wasted to something other than his campground. It happens, but hopefully we can clean up the river valley. We met with Todd Gloria the other day as well, and he was really excited that the SB 507 got passed. He felt that the $500,000 for the Tijuana River Valley was a complete win, which obviously we're going to need more money, but it's a start. We attended the County Board of Supervisors meeting this morning. I've heard some of you all saw that. There was 3 of us, myself, Lance Rogers, and Darren Case that spoke at that. I basically just went on the health and safety concern of it because they were looking to approve and accept the grant money that's coming. So we were trying to, our goal this morning was to try to persuade them from, instead of taking the 1.6 and using it towards the campground, maybe taking it to better improving the river valley. Because, I'm not going to camp if I've got Border Patrol agents chasing cartel through my campground. I'm just not going to do it. And so that was one of the many things that we brought up. And I've heard it's on the internet, so y'all can watch that. We're meeting with Congressman Peters later on this week. We're going to be at IBWC tomorrow night, which we're really excited about. And we also have a lengthy punch list, which I've given to Council Member Mark West, but I'm going to resend it out because it's much lengthier. And yeah, that's about it. We've just been really pushing forward to get more support for the lawsuit. So thank you.
Thank you for your leadership.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
And now we have Dante Pimentuan.
Dante Pimentuan again. Thank you again for Ginger's leadership and mentorship. She's provided a tremendous effort for this issue on cleaner beaches and cleaner water for Imperial Beach. And by the way, if you do watch that video for the County Board of Supervisors, you'll notice that Imperial Beach was mentioned in that presentation. So there are a lot of people fighting for Imperial Beach. My main point is I wanted to kind of get to the low-hanging fruit for what Imperial Beach can do, something that is in our control. And that's if we're consistently, and I applaud you for consistently driving the message home that there's an emergency here every month. Every time you guys have a council meeting, it's great. You guys continue the proclamation, you continue to extend it, you continue to put it on high visibility. That's an awesome way to get the word out. But I think there would be more power if we are declaring it an emergency. I think the city of Imperial Beach should be applying for some emergency funds from the state. And I don't know what's going on over there, if that's a discussion that's already been brought up to the city council this year, but I think there should be more effort into applying for those monies that are at the state level. And if it's something that has to do with justifying the funds, maybe there's something that we can be doing here with the city council where one city council member can address the residents and how it impacted them, and another council member can address the businesses and how it affected them. And then you can collect all the data and you can justify it. I don't know if there's any other, consultants or anybody that you guys have thought about, hiring, but I think that's a very important thing to follow up with your powerful message and make it even more powerful with actually taking action and applying for the grants and applying for those emergency funds. So.
No, I can answer that. If I'm correct, it's the county of San Diego that also has to declare an emergency. And after the spill, the county refused to do that. Counties consistently refuse to declare an emergency. They won't refuse to do it. And so that became an issue with our local congressman. We were very frustrated that the county was very adamant about not doing it. And so therefore we're ineligible to get for state funding. In fact, the state of California was also interested in helping us out with that. So it's been the county's leadership has been a consistent problem.
Okay. Well, I think as a city, as in a local entity that's within our impact, can't we bypass the county?
We can't. Unfortunately, the way that works is that the city declares an emergency and we can receive funding from the county. For us to receive funding from the state, the county does need to declare it an emergency. And as of yet, they have not. They may consider that in the future, but as of yet, they have not.
Okay.
Right. I'm sorry. Can you do it after the meeting? We have so much on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll just keep it brief. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
But there may be other.
Yeah, feel free to text me or email me or whatever, or we can. Anyway, all right. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items numbers 2.1 through 2.9 and item 5.1.
So moved.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Great. Now we have ordinance 3.1, introduction of ordinance number 2017-1171, known as the Imperial Beach Marine and Beach Protection Ordinance, regulating the use of expanded polystyrene and non-recyclable plastic disposable containers and packaging. City Manager Hall will give the presentation.
Mayor and Council, tonight you have before you ordinance number 2017-1171. Staff offers that for introduction and consideration by the City Council. And what that would do is regulate the use of polystyrene, which is the brand name of that, maybe styrofoam or other things you've heard of. And so to maybe clarify that a little bit, I just wanted to show some pictures essentially of what polystyrene is, because that's a word that a lot of people haven't heard. But it's used in the food business as well as packaging businesses and insulation and some of those kinds of uses. So I wanted to make sure that everyone understood what was being discussed. One of the things that we have become concerned about is that, again, in the estuary, we do have a lot of birds and animals, and what we find is that any of those containers that do blow away have implications, and they are important to our community. I wanted to make sure that I understood a little bit about the recycling part of this, so I did have a chance to talk to EDCO, and I think all of us have seen these kinds of things where, again, styrofoam, you can see the one on the left there, it says styrofoam and plastic bags, and some of those things can't be recycled. The one on the right, it says no foam and no styrofoam. I wanted to clarify that in our area, EDCO can recycle styrofoam. It needs to be clean. It needs to be cleaned out before it goes. If it's dirty when it gets there, they do have to toss it out, but it is possible to be recycled. So I wanted to clarify that a little bit. Also had a chance to talk to him a little bit about our specific environment here. He did say that in wet environments, it's very likely that paper products may be beneficial because they do biodegrade and they do disintegrate faster than styrofoam will in a wet environment, such as the ocean or the rivers or the estuaries. And so just wanted to make sure that we clarified that it can be recycled. We don't want anybody out there to think they can't recycle styrofoam. They can, please do. But it does need to be cleaned before it is put into your recycling. Also wanted to make sure that we tie it, like we do everything else in the community, to our mission statement. Our mission statement is perfect for IB. We live by it. We practice it every day. I try to make sure that every staff member hears it at least once a day, and it's very clear that, you know, our mission here is to maintain and enhance Imperial Beach as classic Southern California, a beach-oriented community with a safe, small-town family atmosphere, rich in natural and cultural resources. I know that employees are tired of hearing that, but we think it's very appropriate for our community, and I know that this is very important to the City Council. So again, we're asking for the introduction of the ordinance in an ongoing effort with some of the other things that we're doing with our sea level rise lawsuit, with our trying to make sure that we get clean water in the estuary and some of those other things. The Minute 320, which was passed to try and reduce the amount of refuse that goes both ways across the border. So again, that's why we are introducing for your consideration ordinance number 2017-1171 and establishing January 17th as a second reading date for that ordinance. We're certainly open to questions from the City Council. It is a public hearing, and I think there are any number of public speakers that would like to address you on this issue.
Mr. City Manager, I noticed that contrary to every other city cited as an example of this kind of ordinance, we are unique in that we have an exception for polystyrene coolers and chests. They are exempted from this. And everybody knows that it doesn't take much for them to break up, especially on the beach when they're subject to, you know, the stresses of being loaded with plenty of beverages or whatever. I don't understand why that's an exception in Imperial Beach and not San Francisco, Malibu, Manhattan Beach, Miami Beach, and other places that have this kind of restriction in place.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, that's a great observation. A couple of things. Before I get there, I hope that the council realized also a little bit of difference in our ordinance is that we do want to make sure that we provide waivers for those companies that may have fiscal issues of trying to make that transformation and some waivers there. And we're a little bit, I think, maybe more understanding that it may take some time to implement these kinds of things in our ordinance. That was probably just the, I will call it an oversight of the city manager. There's probably no reason why that could not be added to our ordinance. The idea was that those coolers, at least in theory, are intended to be used several times. But again, you're probably correct. They probably aren't long lasting, and at some point they do fall apart and whatnot. But again, that was purely a staff oversight. It was included in several of the ordinances that I reviewed and could be added to our ordinance if that was the direction of the city council.
Good. Any more technical questions on the ordinance? Okay. All right, good. We have a lot of public speakers. Less is more. And so I know a couple of folks have asked for more than 3 minutes. I'm not going to grant that because we just have a lot of public speakers and we have a lot of stuff on this agenda. And this council's into making sure we can get to everything, a lot more things than this. So get to the point, please. Let us know how you feel, but don't feel you need to speak a lot longer if you've gotten your message out. So with that, Randy Hawley.
My name is Randy Hawley. I reside at 284 Ebony here in Imperial Beach. I want to thank Mr. Mayor, council, city staff for the opportunity to address you on this issue. I first moved to Imperial Beach in 1973. I remember what this town was like. First Street, now Seacoast, was nothing more than the Surfside Motel, Sullivan's Market, and a string of dive bars. Now it's a commercial hot zone, and because this town has embraced its relationship with the ocean. You do it in your city mission statement. The mayor's mentioned, how much we care about and are actually taking political and community actions to protect our coastline. Our commerce is based on our relationship with the ocean, on bringing people here. I find it sometimes funny that we have businesses along Seacoast that use the ocean as a marketing tool and yet still are using styrofoams. I am in favor of this ordinance. 3 things I'd like to add was possibly the inclusion of plastic straws. I think this could be implemented partially, a period of time to allow existing businesses to reduce their stock, that it doesn't have to be overnight. Also would emphasize a cooperative effort amongst the businesses to pool their resources to actually buy replacements for the styrofoam. And I think, Mr. City Manager, I think that when it comes to recycling styrofoam, there's added costs involved in that. So if you include the recycling of styrofoam, also realize that there will probably be additional costs in that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Mr. Hawley. And now we have Sophie Barnhorst from the San Diego Regional Chamber.
Alrighty. Good evening, Mayor Dedina and City Council members. My name is Sophie Barnhorst, and I'm here on behalf of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, representing 2,500 member businesses. We sincerely appreciate IB's efforts to reduce litter, particularly on the beach, which is really a gem of the city. It's my understanding that, and as confirmed by City Manager Hall, that IB is already ahead of the game and is already accepting EPS food containers curbside through your hauler. And so we've worked to promote recycling of polystyrene in the curbside recycling bin. And I'm not here to tell you that one new regulation will cause mass layoffs or result in the closure of most IB restaurants. It's not typically one regulation that causes businesses to close. But this isn't the only regulation any businesses face. We have stormwater regulations, minimum wage, overtime regulations, the Health Code, Americans with Disability Act, Prop 65, and I'm not arguing that each of these regulations isn't for a good purpose, but we have to acknowledge that it's not easy and it's definitely not cheap to comply with them all. So together, we know that the total impact holds businesses back and closes others, unfortunately. We consistently hear that from our members. As I mentioned earlier, We know that EDCO already recycles EPS containers in the curbside bins. Respectfully, the regional chamber urges you to ask staff to work with stakeholders and come back with an option other than an outright ban. We think that public education on proper recycling and outreach to small businesses who use EPS will reduce litter without forcing inferior, more costly products on small restaurants. I want to thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. Now we have Shannon.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ratliff. I'm an Imperial Beach resident, and I'm here on behalf of Suncoast Market Co-op, a natural grocery store co-op that'll be opening here in Imperial Beach. I'm here because we are in support of the styrofoam ban, and we think it's part of being a good steward of the environment, which is part of our mission in our food co-op. In Imperial Beach, our lifestyle and economy is reliant on a healthy and vibrant environment, and this is why it's important that businesses make this easy switch away from a clearly harmful product. It fits with all the great work that's happening around town in general. I do think it's important that we do consider how this ordinance would impact small businesses. I was able to ask a number of questions about this recently with a number of people that are involved. I was relieved to hear that the costs really are minimal and likely to be completely unnoticeable to small businesses and consumers. I was also happy to hear that there are resources available to help small businesses make the transition to a better product. The fact that many local small businesses have already adopted these changes willingly, I think speaks volumes to the impact of this measure. I hope we eagerly pass this ordinance because I believe it's our duty to do what we can to protect the environment and the ocean that we all depend on. So I think this ordinance is practical and just makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Chris Dugan.
Good evening, Mayor Dedina and Council. Chris Duggan. I am with the California Restaurant Association San Diego County chapter. We represent over 6,500 family-owned bona fide restaurants in our county, many of which call the beautiful city of Imperial Beach home. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this item. First and foremost, before I get into my remarks, I do want to say that we at the CRA absolutely share the concerns about litter in our oceans, our bays, along our beaches, in our estuaries. Absolutely. We partner regularly with Surfrider on beach cleanup. We work closely on litter abatement programs in all of the cities around the county. So I just wanted to make that statement very clear that we are advocates for the environment. With that said, I do want to touch upon the ordinance before you. First and foremost, the cost. As many of you know in this tightly knit community, small businesses, specifically restaurants, can operate on razor-thin margins at times, some 5 to 6%, and therefore they're always looking at ways to become more efficient. When you begin to ban products that they use and that costs additional cost to them, that could not only force them to make decisions with their labor, but possibly with the layered of other regulations shuttering their business. So cost is an issue with this, as we have done studies that we've seen cups when you shift from your polystyrene to your paper cups, that you could see 126% increased costs there with the cups. The foam containers, we've seen 85% increases. And so we do have those studies. I'm happy to share those with you. We've shared them with other cities. The second issue I want to talk about, and thank you, City Manager Hall, for bringing up the recyclability. I spent approximately 2 years with the City of San Diego, your neighbor, and with Councilmember Alvarez on working with a program that allows clean foam food containers to be added to the blue bins in the City of San Diego. This was big. It was a lot of education both ways, both with the Environmental Services Department and that. So that was just approved by the City of San Diego. So again, you have a bordering city that is accepting it into their bin because it is recyclable. It goes into frames that you see up in all city halls and everything. They use those recyclability for frames. So recyclability is big, and we support that 100%. I would say, lastly, it really is a reliable product. We have seen some of our members remove it voluntarily and then go back to it just because we are having certain spillage issues. So it is very reliable. And so in closing, I would state that this has been brought to our attention in the past 48 hours, this ordinance. And so therefore at this time, we'd ask the council to go with option number 2, which would press the pause button, bring all the stakeholders together, including Surfrider, the CRA, talk about the ordinance, see what we want to do and how we can get a win that works for everybody, and also look at recyclability a little bit closer. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And with Ben Sweargen.
Mayor Dedina and council members, community members, thank you again. I'm just going to speak very briefly this time. I just wanted to say that I support this initiative. I think that the transition will make a way for it to work for the restaurants and the businesses. I think we'd all be willing to pay another cent or two on our meal for environmentally safe products for our ocean, for our children, so we can maintain this beautiful environment that we live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have Calissa Reyes Falcon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members and staff. Clarissa Reyes Falcon with Falcon Strategies. I'm here today on behalf of Dart Container Corporation, one of the largest manufacturers of food containing products in the nation, probably in the world. They have a broad spectrum of products, including polystyrene, but also paper products and compostable containers as well. So despite the myths, and it's been acknowledged by the city manager, thank you so much, and misperceptions of polystyrene, it is recyclable. When scraped and rinsed, they can be recycled just like any material into the curbside recycling bin. Once sorted, EPS can be densified in facilities such as EDCO and then sold as a secondary market product and can be used and densified for products such as baseboards and picture frames as a very good wood alternative. DART and our partners with the California Restaurants Association, San Diego Regional Chamber, and some of the small chambers in cities throughout the state have worked with municipalities to adopt policies that allow EPS recycling. Most recently, we worked with the city of San Diego and their haulers to accept EPS food containers in their curbside recycling, recognizing that some businesses rely on the product and that it is recyclable. And we assist municipalities in their public outreach and education on how to properly recycle food containers. And we do enjoy partnering with municipalities, and we would be very interested in partnering with Imperial Beach if they choose to look at a robust recycling program. The city of Imperial Beach already has the ability to recycle EPS containers through your contracted hauler. However, it is unlikely that the public is aware that you can recycle EPS. So we would be very willing to, again, partner with you to put out that public education and outreach to your cities and to your city and to your residents and restaurants that use the product. We understand that the city's intent to reduce litter is important to protect its beautiful and natural resources. My family and I come here all the time. We actually come in with our pick sticks and we pick up trash as well. But a product bag only leads to substitution of the material and therefore not really reduces litter. This is actually substantiated in a report that was done about 3 years ago by the State Water Resources Control Board. I quote, it says, product bans enacted by an ordinance such as takeout items may involve substitution of the banned item. Mere substitution would not result in reduced trash generation if such product substitution would be discarded in the same manner as a banned item. And it continues to say enforcing litter laws in sensitive areas or in areas that generate a substantial amount of litter, an ultimate source of trash loading to a given water body would be reduced or eliminated. So at the same time, it is unknown how this ordinance will impact your small businesses, and we're just respectfully asking the city maybe to continue this item and to really look at how this is going to impact small businesses. I come here with my family, as I mentioned, and have eaten at eateries that use the product. And I think it's worth looking at maybe working with these folks and to see about educating their customers on how to recycle. And we, again, DART and our partners would be more than happy to work with the city and your businesses to do that. So respectfully, we hope that you won't rush on this ordinance.
I'm assuming you're wrapping it up, right?
Yes, and I'm done.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wright?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Stephen Wright. I live at 1010 10th Street here in Imperial Beach. My life revolves around the border and trash. During the day, I'm executive director of Four Walls International. We repurpose tires, plastics, and foam here in the border region into parks, housing, green infrastructure projects. And we also do some public art and placemaking, which you've seen here in Imperial Beach. But tonight I'm coming to you as a citizen. I live here, I surf here. My daughter plays in our beach sand. And I work in Tijuana directly on these issues that impact the estuary and our beach. I'm a firm believer that we have to lead by example. Our beaches, the very best chance our beach has is that both sides of the border abandon our destructive convenience habit, our throwaway culture of plastics and foam. So as a citizen, as a business owner, as a father, as a human being, I definitely express my support for this ordinance, and I'm excited to see us moving in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Stephen and Bethany Case. I know, Stephen, you generously donated your time to Bethany, but 3 minutes, I'm sure you can get it done.
Sure.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for letting us speak on this. My name is Bethany Case. We live at 1311 East Lane. And I'm here to speak as a parent and community member for South Bay Clean Water Movement and for the No BS committee and surf rider. And lastly, we just bought the Little Ride Cafe, and so I'm here as a restaurant owner. So let's see, how do I break this down? All right, so as a new small business owner, I know all the regulations that we have to, I'm going through the motions right now. I get it. There's a lot. But I think this is one thing at 1 cent to 8 cent difference from the styrofoam. We can do biodegradable materials. We've priced everything out. It's not, it can get bad, but if you shop around, it's okay. And we know that there will be assistance in the switchover. Thankfully, Annie has already done that, and we don't have to switch over. We're already with biodegradable items, and we're on track to become an ocean-friendly restaurant with Surfrider, which is all the straws and everything. So facts. There are 111 cities or counties covered by EPS ordinances, and there are thousands of companies that comply with these ordinances. And there's no reporting of an influx in business failing just from these kinds of bans. These started in 2008 and 2004, and then became popular in 2008. There are programs such as the Equinox Project Report, programs where people will come in and work with business owners to help them comply and make it easier. Let's see. There is recycling for these items. You have to clean it. That doesn't happen. We know that. It does keep trash the same, yes, but other products are biodegradable, and so we think that that's hugely important. These products are classified as a possible carcinogen, which scares me. Not with cold food, with hot food, but typically we get our coffee in that, and that already starts to break down. And we already have enough plastic to form a permanent layer in the fossil record. That should scare everybody. So without going into much more, I just want to say that we are in favor of this ordinance passing, and we're happy to help educate other business members as we've educated ourselves. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now the legendary Dick Pilgrim. Dick, are you here?
My name is Dick Pilgrim. I'm at 1182 5th Street, Imperial Beach. I don't know how I got legendary, but anyway. And I'm speaking in favor of this ordinance. I'm a longtime volunteer at the estuary and South San Diego Bay. I've heard people talk all about the beach and the cleanliness and so on. But come down to the estuary. I'm down there at least 3 hours a week, either in the estuary or South Bay, doing something. And inevitably, we spend an hour of our time doing nothing more than picking up a hellacious bunch of supposedly biodegradable styrofoam. The stuff disintegrates into little bitty pieces you can't pick up. It doesn't biodegrade, okay? It's junk, okay? The quicker we can get rid of it, the better. If you could pass the ordinance tonight, I would support you. I told one of my fellow volunteers one time that I'm really opposed to capital punishment except for one thing, styrofoam. So what can I say to you? I would invite the people from DART and the other organizations to come down to a cleanup at the estuary or over at South Bay. We will give you a trash picker-upper, we'll give you plastic gloves, we'll give you whatever, and you come down and you spend 3 hours picking up your junk out of there, and you tell me about recyclability, and you tell me about biodegradability, and then go back, okay? Biodegradability is a myth. The recycling, somebody said, yeah, it's fine, it works well. All you got to do is wash it all out. We all do that, right? With our coffee cup that we had to use, whatever. Yeah. So I'm all for it. There are paper substitutes. Other people in small business have talked about this. If I sound like I'm emotional about it, you better believe I am. I get tired of spending hours doing nothing but picking up styrofoam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pilgrim. We have Ramon Chares.
I'm going to take a different approach than Mr. Pilgrim. My name is Ramon Chaires. I'm part of the Suncoast Cooperative Market. I also do a little, I coordinate a garden over at Oneonta Elementary. And I'm passionate about our environment. In 2003, the small town of Kamikuta, Japan, implemented a zero waste policy. In that policy, they asked their residents to separate their trash and recyclables into 35 different categories. They're a few years now away from becoming zero waste. And I think about where we are, right? Why is it that we're so behind on the curve in some areas? Why is it that a small town like Kamikuta can do that? Like, how amazing is that they're going to be zero waste in a few years? And then I think about our forefathers, right? I think about all of us have parents or grandparents that, experienced, the era during World War II. And what were they being asked to do? Ration, recycle, right? Many businesses were asked to cut back. The toy industry, the wood industry, right? People who were producing toys had to sacrifice. Businesses that were producing paper had to sacrifice, right? Because we were recycling a lot of paper. And I think about our forefathers and I think, what do they think? Like, why are we not making sacrifices so that we can address our consumer society, the byproducts of our consumer society? We got islands the size of states out there in the middle of the ocean. That's insane. And we're debating like a styrofoam ban? Is that what we're debating right now? Really? And so I also think about our other forefathers, right? I think about the indigenous people that were native to this land long before all of us. They were our first environmentalists. What are they saying? We told you so? Heed our warning? Like, we gave you the wisdom? What are we waiting for? Like, why can't we be? In a lot of ways, I'm so grateful that we have a mayor and a city council. You all have exemplified what it is to be at the forefront of many issues. And I'm really grateful for that. But what will it say to the rest of the region if we're making a big stink about all the pollution coming through the river valley, which is understandable? We should be, mad about that. If we don't pass this ban, what does that say? Like, who are we? That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now we have Anna Webb. Anna Webb here.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to express my views this evening. I'm Anna Webb. I live across the street from the estuary at 142 Imperial Beach Boulevard. And I am a trash picker. And what that means is when I see trash on the sidewalk and the road and in the estuary, I go get it. I've chased plastic bags across the street that were blowing, and the styrofoam, which is very light, which someone didn't scrape and clean, that was blowing over into the estuary. That's what I do. There is a trash can right across the street at the bus stop. That's where I put it into. Not recycling it, but I am picking it up so the birds don't get harmed. We do have a lack, I will say, of trash cans on IB Boulevard, and I would like to see that increased. I think if that was increased, people might be more apt to throw their trash away. But I've sat here and heard, I'm from the Midwest. My daughter's apartment building does not have a recycling bin. We are very forward thinking here. And to me, because of the ban of the plastic bags, I've not seen any plastic bags in the estuary. 4.5 years I've lived there. I used to see them. I don't see them anymore. And I think if we ban styrofoam, we won't see styrofoam in the estuary and in the ocean anymore. I support this.
Thank you so much. And then we have Micah Perlin. I know, Micah, you asked for 6 minutes, but 3 is fine. Kim, thank you for donating your time. Did you want to speak as well, Kim, or? Okay. But I guess I can note, Kim, that you did support this item. Okay, thank you.
Mayor Dedina, City Council, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Micah Perlin. I'm here on behalf of Progress San Diego. We've been working with various environmental organizations representing both residents and the broader community that enjoys IB. And there's so much support for this, as you can see from the turnout tonight. We also have some comments from community members that I don't know how to submit it, but for your review later on.
I think you can pass it to us now, right? To the Assistant City Clerk. So.
We asked folks what they thought about this, and what you'll see from the responses is that we got a lot of one-liners, but basically everyone agrees this is a common sense practice. We pretty much had a really informed, smart audience tonight, so I don't want to reiterate a lot of the points, but I do think it's important to say the only thing recycled about styrofoam are the arguments from the groups that want to say that we don't know what's going to happen. We have over 100 jurisdictions across California that have done this, and the businesses have thrived. We're looking at a cent to a few cents. They can pass it on to their customers. So we do know that this works, and we do have business support. And to the effect that, well, a cup's a cup and they might switch it out for a different cup. Surfrider and Coastkeeper, they've picked up annually 20,000 bits of styrofoam, pounds of styrofoam, no, it was bits of styrofoam, around San Diego County each year. So we have a real problem. It's an urgent problem, and we have a solution, and the broader community supports it. So thank you for this time.
Thank you so much. Lastly, we have Ruth Cole, and I know Ruth, you just wanted to, you didn't need to speak, and you support this item. Is that correct? Thank you so much. I want to thank all the speakers for agreeing to be a little bit more brief than some of you wanted to, but I appreciate that. And again, less is more. We all got the point from both sides. And just for the public record, I know we have these comments coming, and then we have in the last minute agenda item information, we have some additional letters and support and opposed to this item, and then some formatting corrections that were carried out. Just wanted to make sure that was clarified for the public record. Great. Now we can, my council colleagues, I think, Mr. Sprague.
Button's not working.
Oh, me, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You did press the button, right?
I did.
Okay. Good. Okay.
I read a news piece. I think it was National Geographic piece that talked about recent discoveries of microscopic fibers of styrofoam in deep sea ocean life. We're talking about ocean life 4 miles down, ingesting our waste as it breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces. And those organisms are part of the food chain, as are many that we are aware of that are, feeding off of whatever they can find, including styrofoam that may have food remnants left on it, etc. I just wanted to make that point as well, that this has real consequences on the food chain and on a very important ecosystem. Also, I think it's important for us to recognize that the point that was made about being consistent with our values. We need to get rid of as much waste and trash as possible in Imperial Beach, but most especially that which is not biodegradable. There's just no reason under the sun, and I think we've taken it into consideration in this proposed ordinance with going into it slowly and providing compensation for those businesses that have financial difficulties making the transition, and maybe they've got inventory already that they need to swap out. So I just don't think there's really any strong argument for not moving forward with this, with all the considerations that we've heard from the public and that we know and we've read about ourselves, and the precedent set by other forward-thinking cities, which we are a part of, that forward-leaning movement towards environmental responsibility. The day should be clear that any styrofoam waste that we find on our beaches or in our estuaries should be not ours. It should be from across the border, and we need to work on that issue as well, as some have said in the audience. So I would support this measure 100%. I think the idea that was raised of including plastic straws, which are a frequent item found on the beach. I find plastic straws all the time when I walk the beach, which is every week, and I also find bits and pieces of styrofoam. It may come from styrofoam chests. I think we need to include them. I'll confess, I use styrofoam chests, right, for my entertaining, etc. And I can guarantee you, after 2 or 3 uses, they are breaking up. They're breaking up. Pieces of them are come loose. And it's my own personal experience, and I defy anyone to suggest that these things last more than 1 or 2 or 3 uses at most, and depending on how much they're carried around and how much weight is in them, etc. So the final point is that I think the recycling argument is good on its face, But let's face it, we are a visitor serving community. A lot of the people bringing these products into Imperial Beach are not, you know, if it's somebody in Imperial Beach who's going to take all their stuff home from the beach and recycle it into the proper bins at home, that's fine, because we're trying to create that culture. Or if they're using a product at home and recycling is available and their sink is there and they can wash it, that might work. But we are a visitor serving community, and the vast majority of the people who are on our beaches aren't necessarily IB residents. We have to really look at how we regulate the kinds of products that people use in Imperial Beach. And to me, having this ban and including styrofoam chests and straws and other items that are not biodegradable is absolutely essential. We should move forward with it.
Councilman Swiggs, can I make a suggestion? The ice chests are included in the ordinance, and they could be struck from the ordinance rather easily.
Right.
Plastic straws were not part of any consideration or part of this public hearing. Could we bring that maybe back at a future date and just consider it with the polystyrene? Because that's kind of what's been advertised. Maybe bring back a follow-up or a companion to that in the future.
Is that because the notice of this ordinance didn't include plastic straws?
Plastic straws.
Well, and because it's hard to, with ordinances, you have to make the changes very specifically the night you're going to do it. We haven't had time to draft that ordinance.
Okay.
So we want to get it right. So
yeah, not opposed to bringing it back.
Right. We can bring it back at the first meeting in January, but trying to draft
separate
provisions.
ordinance on plastic straws.
Yes.
Okay.
Trying to draft tonight, redraft this ordinance so you can approve it and make sure it's right. I don't recommend doing that.
But we can strike subparagraph 3.
Absolutely, you can strike that one.
That's good.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Patton.
First of all, I want to thank all the speakers, both pro and con, just coming up here and being at our meeting and being involved. It's good to see a full house here. And nobody likes a ban of anything. And as city council members, as city staff, that's not what we like to do. In fact, I think this is probably the first one I've been involved with. I remember the ban of plastic bags, and you all do and still do every time you forget yours. You have to pay the extra 10 cents and stockpiling those, and but life continued, with that ban. Industry, if you go to just about any store in Target, Walmart, industry, they're making packaging much smaller. I'm sure you've noticed, you're not getting this giant plastic thing with one little thing inside anymore. Well, at least a lot of people are downsizing, and I think it's getting better and better. Look at plastic bottles. Remember when plastic bottles first came out, drinking bottles? They were this thick, super heavy duty, durable plastic bottle you could probably reuse a million times with a big fat lid. Now you go to those bottles, get those bottles, they're paper thin, and many times now the lid is attached to the bottle. So they're just getting more efficient. And Mr. Wright said this is about convenience. And the styrofoam, it's pretty convenient. They stack up. They're easy for the restaurants. One of my favorite restaurants in Imperial Beach, they went from using a paper plate with foil on it. Now they switched to styrofoam. And I got this burrito like about this big recently in a box this big. And I got that and I'm like, holy cow, what is this? The big giant bag. I wasn't very happy with it. And but it was easy for them to throw it in there and serve it. And I guess it didn't spill when I brought it home. But I certainly didn't wash out the container and scrape out all the extra cheese. Next time I will, I suppose. But I didn't know that was part of the rule. I thought the whole ordinance was well thought of. The staff did a great job and well written. And me personally, I'll say it about the straws. Go get a Slurpee without a straw if you're a little kid, or a milkshake. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bragg.
Thank you. Speech before beauty.
No, I made a mistake.
That's all right.
They were there
Thank you.
first.
We're just hitting
Okay,
each other. I am not going to try and paraphrase the eloquence of the audience. You have hit the nail on the head. There are some things, though, that I am going to ask, some questions that I'm going to ask, and Chamber of Commerce is here. I hope you don't feel that I'm putting you on the spot, but I will have some questions for you as well. So, Manager Hall, if you would, please explain the phase-in theory of how this ordinance will affect our businesses or not. I have worked at many of the small businesses here in Imperial Beach, restaurants and convenience stores, and I know for a fact that due to storage capacity, they don't have a lot of inventory on stock. They buy it maybe once, you know, they get a big box of cups and lids and containers maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. So I think the conversion is going to be pretty seamless, but if you would, Manager Hall, I know there are some exceptions that you have made. There is also, I think, some other, I think it was I forget the term that was used, but whereas if it was a hardship. So if you would explain that to the audience, and perhaps Chamber, you could take this back to your businesses as well, and then I'll continue on after you do that, please.
Yeah, the ordinance identifies an effective date of June 1st for the businesses to conform to this ordinance. There are, as you mentioned, if there's demonstrable hardship by a business, they can request a waiver, and we can determine whether or not that waiver is valid and whatnot. So they could have even more time. They could have up to an additional 2 years to be able to phase this in if they could demonstrate that it would impact their business in such a way that, because again, this isn't about business. This isn't about hurting businesses. This is about cleaning the environment, and we want to make sure that that's what we're doing. However, there are some changes in that. Anything that the city is doing, any events that the city is doing, for instance, if we were to do the mayor's breakfast coming up, that takes effect for the city 30 days from now. So right away, we want to stay making sure that we set the example and that we're following our ordinance right away. So for the businesses in the community, it's June 1st. For the city, it's 30 days. And then there are some hardship items in the ordinance for businesses.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The reason why I wanted you to explain that was because I was wondering about the communication back to like the farmers market and the vendors that they have there. It's going to take time for them to become aware of the ordinance if it is to pass, and then how they're going to compensate for it as well. Okay, so thank you. So, Mrs. Odermatt, if you would please come to the microphone. I'm not sure if you are the outgoing president. Ms. Odermatt, I'm really not going to put you on the spot too much.
We're putting you on the spot.
Karen can handle the heat, believe me. My question is, have you heard from any of the businesses, and did the chamber do any outreach on this?
No.
Okay. You have not heard from the businesses and did not do any outreach?
No, to both questions. But I mean, this is the first time I've heard of it. Unfortunately, I was not aware. And I'm very excited about what everybody said. I'm going back and forth to take it back to the chamber businesses and ask them what they feel.
Okay.
How it's going to affect them.
Okay, thank you. This is about the residents of Imperial Beach, but additionally, it is about the businesses as well. The disconnect is really not between the businesses and the residents. The disconnect, I think, comes from our visitors who, and somebody stated it, maybe somebody from Kentucky is not aware that, we are really hardcore recyclers here in Imperial Beach. So that's part of our issue. It's not, me who goes to the beach or Bobby or Mark or Ed or our mayor. It's our visitors who are not aware of this. So obviously there is going to have to be a huge campaign component. Mrs. Odermatt, one of the reasons why I had asked you to come to the podium, and I'm not going to extract a promise from you, but I would like perhaps you to take back to the Chamber of Commerce and possibly the Business Improvement District, maybe both entities or one or the other. It has been mentioned that there is a lack of receptacles, trash receptacles, recycling receptacles. And you can also sell those to businesses saying this trash can, this receptacle has been sponsored by to market. So there can be some revenue produced for that. But the other thing that has not been talked about tonight is receptacles for cigarette butts. And I know, Mr. Pilgrim, I can't imagine how many cigarette butts you've picked up over your course of service to our community. So, Karen, could you take that
Definitely,
information
yes.
back maybe to a breakfast meeting or something, and maybe have a survey, explain, if Mr. Hall, if we could get the components of this ordinance to the Chamber of Commerce, make sure it goes out, especially since business licenses will be going out, I believe in January or this month. If maybe they already have gone
May
out.
I
but
ask a question?
Certainly.
So, do you have a fact sheet that we can hand to our businesses that tell us exactly what's going on and what the options are for them from the city for some help?
I do, and I can, and the ordinance is not very long. So I'll give you both. I'll give you a copy of the ordinance, and then we can put in some of the, and by the way, while you ask that question, I want to clarify. Originally, when I put the ordinance together, it was June 1st. Then I had my legal counsel who keeps me out of jail. I wasn't sure when and if the ordinance would pass, so the date certain didn't seem appropriate. So it's actually 6 months from adoption, which if you adopted January 17th would be July 17th. We made that change not knowing whether or not it might take a couple months to pass. So it's 6 months after adoption, which if it's adopted on January 17th would be July 17th. But yes, absolutely, we'll put
Thank you.
together
We'll
a
make
fact
sure
sheet.
that we get it to all the businesses.
Okay, and then additionally, Mr. Ratcliffe, you said that you were aware of some assistance for small businesses as well. If you could get that information to the Chamber of Commerce, that would be awesome. So that, the more information we can get to our local business owners, I think is going to be crucial to the success of this. And I did want to thank Mr. Wright for his, I don't know if he went home, is he still here?
Mrs. Odomez.
Yes, Karen, you can sit down.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being so cooperative. He hit the nail on the head. This is, we've become a throwaway society. And, when I think back of some of the founders of Imperial Beach, and that would include Frida Elliott Adams, who never threw anything away. She reused it and reused it and reused it. And she was a great mentor to me and to the rest of the community as well. Sometimes I think maybe we need to get back to those old school ways a little bit. Thank you.
Great, Mr. West.
So I do want you to know that I have been personally meeting with some of our businesses to ensure that they understand some of this. And I reached out to some of those that are actually probably some of our biggest users of styrofoam. And it was amazing every time I talked to them about this and explained what the ordinance was proposing, that they're like, my customers have already been asking for this. I should have been doing it a long time, but I get lazy and I keep ordering the same things over and over again. So, and I think it is very important that they were willing to talk about it. I think it's really important that one of our newest restaurants, Imperial Siam, who is brand new on the market, was one of the biggest users of styrofoam. We had the Surfrider Ocean Friendly Restaurant go in there, talk to them. Now they are embracing it, and they are an ocean friendly restaurant. And they did it within 4 months. 4 months. They knew, and it's not hard. It's just simple. The reality of the situation is plain and simple. We use styrofoam as a convenience. No one's going to clean it out. I had a meeting with Steve South. He is the director of operations for EDCO. You know what he told me about styrofoam? He said, Mark, it's the worst thing in the world. It's so hard to recycle. I don't even want to try to do it. And this is a company. Do you know where EDCO got its name? It's Ed's company. That's the name, Ed's company. And he is completely not willing to even talk about it. He doesn't want to recycle it. And they recycle everything, including building material. And if you ever get a chance, go to their facility and take a walk around. It's amazing. So the recyclable is just, it's not even reality. We have 3 restaurants already embracing this in our community: Imperial Siam, Coronado Brewing Company, and C180. And when Little Red Cafe gets opened up, they will. And we have some businesses that are already doing it and we didn't even know about it, which include the Ivy Forum. They've completely started changing over, and they did it all on their own. But the reality of the situation is sometimes you need, I'm not a big fan of government getting and saying, we got to stop doing this. But you know what? We did it on the plastic bag ban and it worked. And I'm going to tell you how it worked. For Surfrider and Surfrider and Coast Keeper have kept data. plastic bags were either the 1, 2, or 3 most picked up item in beach cleanups prior to the proposition passing. You know what happened after the proposition? It's not even in the top 20. It worked. Get real. This is something that we need to do for the betterment of our community, and I'm happy that we're doing it, and I think that this is a no-brainer to do. So that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Thanks everyone. Again, thanks for all the community members and folks pro and con for coming out. Really appreciate the engaged and productive discussion. Just another point. I'm pretty sure that most of the new restaurants at the Breakwater are using cardboard, and that includes Chipotle. I know that I traveled the last few days and ate at a restaurant at the airport in Chicago. It was a cardboard container. Went to Whole Foods in Chicago. They had a cardboard container. So I think generally, and I know Cowabunga switched. They were one of the first to switch over. They had been traditional users of styrofoam, so that was great. I think just again, Mr. Spriggs, the proposal and the motion is to include or to strike the right. Okay, so do we have to have a motion to do that, or
When you make the motion to approve the ordinance, it will be with removal of section 1616.030.
wait, removal of section what?
16.16.030A3.
16.0. I'm sorry, I had it
here.
Oh, there you go. That's a little easier. I could have done that. Okay. All right. Good. All right. All right. It's been a long day. All right. Just the other issue is and Mr. Hall and I discussed this, and it's in the New York Times recently, and it was a big discussion in this meeting I went to in Chicago, with cities across the country. China is stopping accepting a lot of recycling materials. There's a verifiable crisis in the recycling industry, and no one has a backup plan right now. So that's something EDCO is very, very concerned about. So we're in a whole new world right now. I think what I'd like to see is this become a win-win for everybody. The great story is that the city and our residents and our business owners work together, figure this out. That's a great story where everyone feels good. And I think we can figure out ways to maybe have some subsidies and work with our partner agencies, whether it's Surfrider, Little Red Cafe, who knows, Progress San Diego, is that it? And figure out a way to help get some subsidies in there and make that transition as easy as possible. And, that's a win-win. It's a great story. And then we move on to other things. But for me, it's really important. On Friday, I'll be addressing the business leaders of Tijuana at the Tijuana Green Verde Tijuana meeting. And I want to say that Imperial Beach is one of the greenest little beach towns on the planet, because we've got to work with those folks in Tijuana to make sure that they're no longer the most polluting beach city in the world. So we got a lot of work to do, but if we can walk the walk and talk the talk and really show our leadership, that really does help us a lot in this garbage crisis that we're facing in the River Valley. And if you haven't walked in the River Valley and literally walked on 5 feet of pure styrofoam that's in that river valley, it's shocking, absolutely shocking. I've been there. I was there actually, the EPA director, Gina McCarthy, a few years ago. So did that. So anyway, I want to, I guess we'll just read the ordinance. Yeah.
Since representatives of different business groups are here and have spoken, including our chamber, and the chamber needs time to think about what the impacts are, which is consistent with what you're saying about we want this to be a win-win for everybody. When we normally do the second reading, very often it's on consent. And maybe in this case, and that second reading will be on the agenda for January 17. So the clock is ticking, assuming this passes tonight, between now and January 17, for everyone to come back with their comments or get them otherwise to the city manager, I suppose, for our consideration at that meeting, which should have public consideration of this issue as opposed to consent calendar consideration, I would think.
Yeah, we will place it on the agenda as a report rather than consent.
Okay, great.
Great. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to introduce ordinance number 2017-1171 by the title only. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ordinance number 2017-1171, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Imperial Beach, California, known as the Imperial Beach Marine and Beach Protection Ordinance, regulating the use of expanded polystyrene and non-recyclable plastic disposable food service containers by food providers and expanded polystyrene packaging.
Great. I would like to entertain a motion to introduce ordinance number 2017-1171 with the removal of item 16.16-.030A 3 by title only and waive further reading of the ordinance and set the matter for adoption of the next regular city council meeting.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Great. And we continue very important items. Right now, public hearing 4.1, and that's Sudbury Palm applicant consideration of an amendment to coastal development permit, design review case, site plan review tentative map, and addendum to mitigated neg deck for the construction of a hotel on 1.4 acre portion of the 4.75 acre breakwater commercial retail center located on the south side of State Route 75. You guys are talking about the passing. Just go outside, please. Ramon, so we could just move on to other business. Located on the south side of State Route 75, Palm Avenue between 9th and 7th Streets. And number 2, consideration of economic development subsidy pursuant to a proposed operating covenant agreement by and between the City of IB and Sudbury Palm Avenue LLC to share transient occupancy tax revenue in the operating covenant agreement and authorizing the city manager to execute the operating covenant agreement on behalf of the city. All right, am I reading anything else when I'm doing this, or there's a lot to read?
I can just add that item 6.1, which is the adoption of a resolution approving a second amendment to the purchase and sale agreement, is also going to be heard with this item.
Okay, right, okay, right. All right, so, okay. Sorry. Start the public hearing, and this is for agenda items 4.1 and 6.1 related to the Sudbury Hotel project, and Assistant City Manager Dish will give the report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. This evening, as you had indicated, is a consideration of a number of different action items. And there are actually 4 elements here for your consideration this evening. And at the end of the day, what you'll be looking at, what the ask of you is to modify some agreements and to approve an entitlement that would allow for the construction of a hotel. And we'll come back to these action items at the very end of the presentation. Before I begin, I would like to indicate that because this was a former redevelopment project, it is now a successor agency component. It's very complex, and there have been a number of individuals that have worked on it. We have our special counsel, Kendall Levan, that is here with us, Kaiser Marston, who had done the fiscal analysis and the pro forma analysis because of the change of that of the resident, or excuse me, the commercial to the hotel component, and then of course the Sudbury team. Colton Sudbury, Esteen, and the whole team that is here, along with a new partner, Theraldson Entities, who you'll meet this evening as well. So I'll skim through this. As indicated, we have the entitlement component. There is an element of a economic development subsidy that Paul will chat about, and then of course there is then the amendment to the purchase and sale agreement, and another amendment to the purchase and sale agreement that you as the successor agency has to vote on. So again, 4 separate actions. So the project that's being contemplated is phase 1 of the, phase 2 of the project. And here's an aerial of it. This is actually the site prior to the existing development. So this is what was there prior to it being a large mound of dirt, and now what it is currently. And so here's the site as it was under construction, and this wasn't too long ago, if y'all remember that. And here's the site plan as is currently approved. And if I can draw your attention, building A over here on the eastern portion of the lot is where the grocery outlet is located. And so that gives you your basis of bearings as we go along here along Palm Avenue. This is the existing curb cut off of Palm. And so the area in question this evening is this property along the western edge. So buildings F and G, which are currently entitled for retail uses, are being, the ask is to convert these into a 101 room hotel. And so again, that is the amendment. And here is a blown up portion of the building as it's located on the site. And of course, we have some better photos throughout the presentation. All of the exterior components of the site, so the approach along 75, none of that would change. This is all interior work that would be modified. So here's some floor plans. No, it's difficult to see, but again, this just kind of indicates the units. This one I wanted to just bring your attention to because it's really a shout out to the Sudbury team and their architect as it relates to being very, very thoughtful about the design. You see mechanical equipment up here, and many times designers, architects will just go ahead and put like little boxes around. They look like little hats, you know, to screen that. But what this team did is they were very thoughtful about how they put together the architecture in terms of actually screening that. And again, this building complies with all of our code requirements. It meets our 40-foot height requirements, but for those specific exceptions that are allowed in the code as it relates to screening mechanical equipment, and then of course the elevator, that's a code requirement. And so here's the elevation as contemplated. And when you take a look at this, again, very thoughtful design. We have effectively two fronts. You have the back that looks like the front and the front that looks like the front. And some of the great and just so everyone's aware of, this is actually the back and this is the front. So this elevation is the south elevation and this elevation is the north elevation. So this is the elevation that faces Palm Avenue. This is the elevation that faces the existing community to the south. So here's some side profiles, east and west elevations, just giving you a sort of indication of what that looks like. And again, this building is broken up through massing, through articulation and relief, different planes, different textures, and of course, elevation changes as well. So this just gives you a sampling of the architecture again and the materials board that would be used. And again, this is a very cohesive development. So the entire center, while it has different architecture, it's all relatable. So here's a sort of shot coming into the site. This is the existing approach off of Palm Avenue. And just for everyone's edification, the Design Review Board recommended approval of this 5-0. And they did ask for the council's benefit that some elements be provided and that we'll get to. One kind of showing the entire design so you can kind of see the whole site. And it's a very long site. So when we get to that photo, it's a little hard to see, but again, the design team did a really good job of sort of stringing that together. And so here's actually the back, this building right here, Baskin Robbins. Many of us are aware of that location as we come in to around the site. This is the front elevation. So this is the north side. And so there you can see a well-designed porte-cochere. And again, what this site did is it took advantage of this green area, which serves not only as a really nice buffer from SR 75, but again, it's a biofiltration component. So it's a really good use of the area and bringing the building out to the site for the pedestrians. This is one of the screenshots or one of the elevations that the applicant's team had put together based upon some of the DRB comments, just to kind of give you a sort of blocking simulation of what it would look like for the folks that are located along the south end. And so there is a landscape buffer that would be augmented from what's out there currently today. You can see the trees that are simulated. And so what's important to note is that, you know, upon installation, the trees are larger. They're about 13 feet when installed. But then we also, the DRB wanted the city council to understand how long is it going to take for those trees to grow to show that the sight lines here, as indicated from, let's say, the top level, would screen completely the folks over here and vice versa.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, if you want to make public comments in the future, you can, but thank you.
So this is the location of the alley, and here is the proposed hotel, and this would be the top floor, which would be the 4th floor, and then you can see how that perspective would work. And again, 13, 16 after 2 years, 20 feet after 5 years, and 40 foot at maturity. Again, this just kind of shows the existing architecture of the portion of the site that's already constructed. And you can see, again, the grocer, we're working sort of, I guess it would be east to west. The GO, and as we move forward, the Starbucks and all those other tenants that are located in this area. And here's that perspective that the DRB had wanted y'all to have the benefit of seeing the entire site from a perspective all the way from the east end of the site, which is the grocery outlet in this area, all the way through to where the proposed hotel would be. And then again, you can see this kind of blown up going from west to east, or excuse me, from east to west, left, right. So with that sort of concludes the presentation as it relates to the entitlements. I wanted to now turn it over to Kaiser Marston. Following Kaiser Marston, I will provide a wrap up and then introduce the applicants team.
Thank you, Mr. Dush, and good evening, Mayor Danina and members of the council. Paul Maurer with Kaiser Marston Associates, and I'm going to go through several economic analyses we prepared related to the proposed project. We had 3 objectives in the work effort that we undertook, 3 different questions that were put to us. The first one was the impact on what's called fair reuse value. When you held a public hearing back in 2013 to approve the sale of the property to the developer, you had to justify the sales price under redevelopment law. We prepared that fair reuse value analysis and what's called a section 33433 summary report at that time. And the question comes up now that the proposed use for a portion of the property will be different, should the developer be paying a higher land price than what they paid? So that was question number 1 that we were asked to address. Question number 2, once we get over the hurdle of question number 1, does the project have a financing gap, and is the proposed TOT sharing justified? Because that's an item before you tonight, is to contribute TOT, transient occupancy tax, back to the hotel for a period of 10 years. And then the third question, the third objective, was you're legally required, if you do undertake this TOT sharing agreement, to enter into, to prepare an economic development subsidy report, government code section 53083, that if cities are subsidizing developments, there's a certain procedure for disclosing the subsidy and presenting the anticipated economic benefits from the project. So we actually had these 3 assignments, and you have with your staff report 3 reports from us, and I'll just go through them each very briefly. So on the first question, revisiting the fair reuse value, you actually approved an agreement back in 2013 to sell the entire property, 4.75 acres, for $213,000. And that's obviously a very low figure, but it reflected the condition of the property and the requirements in your agreement. And as you know, there were extraordinary offsite improvements, extraordinary on-site improvements required to bring the site up. And so those conditions, the market risk for the developer to undertake the retail development and so forth, all contributed to actually what we concluded was a negative fair reuse value, but the developer agreed to a purchase price of $213,000. For purposes of comparison, we prorated a portion of that. They've already paid you that purchase price. They already own the property, but we assigned $63,000 to phase 2. So that would be the just prorating based on the acreage. What we've done over the last many months is review the developer's pro forma for the project and go back and forth on a number of inputs and assumptions in their pro forma and conclude on the feasibility of the project. And so in analyzing the hotel pro forma, we estimate a total cost of $16.8 million. including prevailing wage, which would be a requirement of the construction for the project. The stabilized operating income is projected at 1.4 million. That's typically the third year of operations of the hotel. When we analyze this type of pro forma, we assume there's a sale at the end of an initial period. In our case, we use year 15. That doesn't mean the developer has any particular plan to sell the property. We just have to close the math in doing our analysis. So we concluded that the developer's return was about 10%. That's an unleveraged internal rate of return. And that we believe the target standard for a property of this type would be 12%. So the developer was achieving an average annual return over that 15-year hold period of 10% when we think that they should be targeting a 12%. So it was sub industry standard. We would not expect them to develop this hotel without assistance. But to answer the first question, from my objectives, we concluded that changing the land use here from retail to hotel did not support the developer paying a higher land value for the property. So that's the conclusion of our first study. And obviously, the developer is planning to proceed because they have not found retail tenants that are suitable for this site, and they have found a hotel operation, and they think it will enhance the value of their overall project. So going to our second question, if we didn't have a history of redevelopment and the prior sale of the property, you would still ask us the question, should you contribute TOT to this project? Why is that necessary? So we call that a gap financing or financing gap analysis. So again, we use the pro forma to measure the developer's return before and after any contribution of public assistance. So I won't go through all these details. It's the same facts and figures that we used in the prior pro forma. And the developer return, which I had cited at 10% without any assistance from the city, increases to 10.8%. So we're using the same projections, but the proposed agreement is 50% of the TOT to be contributed back to the developer for a period of 10 years, which in our projection would be about $2 million over those 10 years. But there's a limit in the agreement not to exceed 2.5. So whichever comes first, 10 years or 2.5 million. And in testing that, we concluded it moved the developer's needle toward a feasible project, but did not get them to a 12% return. During the course of all the dialogue with the developer, they many times asked for longer TOT sharing, longer time and higher amounts. But what your staff is bringing forward is their recommendation of only 10 years, 50%. So the finding here is that the assistance is justified. It brings the project more feasible. Developers still proceeding, as we understand, even though they're not getting to an industry standard return. And you might ask, well, why does this hotel in this location need this subsidy to be feasible? And we do think it's a pioneering effort. You only have one quality hotel in the city, and that's a very new event, and you did subsidize that hotel to make that one happen. This hotel has neither beach nor freeway. So those two key things. It's going to have to pay prevailing wage, which is an increase to construction costs. And as Mr. Dust just showed you, it's a very high level of surrounding four-sided architecture, a very high level of quality that they're going to include in the project. So then I go to my third issue, which is the requirement to disclose the economic development subsidy, the 53083 report. So we document everything I've just said in terms of the dollars, and we also show the economic benefits. So here I have two columns on the slide. The hotel column is in the study, the economic development subsidy study, but I thought you might want to know what was our previous projection when this phase 2 was going to be retail and restaurant use. So as shown here in the stabilized year 3 of operations for the hotel would generate 191,000 combination TOT after the rebate. So it would generate twice 191,000. You would retain the 191,000, and then property tax to the city on the order of 37,000 for total tax revenues retained by the city that year, 228,000. By comparison, the retail, if there was a retail development here, you would not be rebating anything to the developer, but it would only generate about 47,000 plus 9 for property tax for a total of 56,000. So even after you contribute 50% of the TOT, you're reaping sizably higher revenues to the city. And this is only occurring during the first 10 years. After that period, you're not rebating any TOT. And so we also summarize in the study a 15-year snapshot, which is the requirement of the law to give a projection for that period. Total TOT revenues over that period are projected at 6.6 million. Your subsidy in our projection would cap out at 2 million because that's when it would hit the 10-year mark. So the net you would retain is 4.6. And then the property tax revenues, about 600,000 total, for total revenues to the city of 5.2 million. Job generation is another requirement to report that the developer and operator estimate at build out and stabilization. Temporary employment refers to the construction, 75 construction jobs, and permanent employment ongoing 30 jobs. And with that, turn it back to you.
So before I introduce, and I'm not sure if it's going to be Colton or if it's going to be Esteen, I did want to clarify one thing that had come up during some of the discussions that staff had during some briefings. And that was to clarify that if in the event that the city council chose to increase through the vote of the people.
Los Santa Ana.
So if in the future that the city council decided to go through a process to look at increasing the transit occupancy tax from its current rate to a higher rate, I wanted to clarify, and we would request that to add that clarity, that if you're inclined to make an approval, that we add a condition to item number 2, resolution on the economic development subsidy, that any increase in TOT would not go towards this project. So that incremental increase above what the current rate is would stay with the city. The deal for the applicant stays the same, of course, and the pro forma would certainly change, but I just wanted to clarify that. And so,
which one is
so that would be item number 2, the resolution 2017-7872 approving the economic development subsidy.
Okay.
And so with that, I will turn it over to the to the Sudbury team.
I just want to thank you guys. That was a really great, concise summary, right? Really, really well done. Thank you. I appreciate it. For both of you, so you could both get A+ on that. Make it since there wasn't any competition. They mind. Oh, okay. Sorry, Justine.
Oh, that's
continue.
okay. Mayor Dedina, President Pro Tem Mayor, and City Council, thank you. And it was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. We have had the privilege for the last, I think, 3 years now to work on this wonderful adventure. We're very excited and very thankful for the opportunity to be before you this evening. One of the things that was very important to us was to introduce to you a team when we decided that we really wanted to do what we thought was best, not only for the development, the community, and for everyone involved. We sought after who was the most qualified company to partner with, because it's not been something that we do every day. The retail is our gifting, what we do very well. Hotels are something new and exciting, and we're really looking forward to this opportunity. So we sought how would we find the best potential partner to co-develop, and they would manage and know this business, and most creditable group that we could find. So we went out and started looking around. First thing we did is we knew that we had to have a very high bar, and that high bar was we felt like Hilton. So natural to go to Hilton. So Hilton actually made the introduction and we said, here's what we're looking for. They said, we got just the team that we'd recommend above anyone else that we think could do a phenomenal job, that's phenomenal experience. So I'd like to have the pleasure to introduce you to, we have Don Cape and we have Joe Block with Tharaldson. I'd like to just introduce you to them and have them say and answer any questions. And then we have Colton Sudbury here, as you're well aware, to answer any questions. So thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be a part of this program. And as Esteen said, and Colton, they certainly set the standard in commercial retail. And in San Diego and San Diego metro area. So we're very excited to have the opportunity to embark on a journey with them. And as Estine said, Hilton had contacted us and said, hey, we've got an opportunity in a market that you may have overlooked or may not focus on. And then I said, where is it? They said, it's in Imperial Beach, California. And I said, where's Imperial Beach, California? So anyway, no. The real reason we decided to do the deal is because our head of operations daughter lives here and she's begging us to do the deal. So we overlooked all the market statistics and said, all right, we'll give it a shot. So now we're excited. It's going to be a great project. And, you know, we've spent quite a bit of time getting into the fabric of the community like we do. We've built, owned, and operated over 400 hotels across the United States. We're Marriott's largest franchisee, close to Hilton's largest franchisee. We own and operate our own program. So, you know, we're very careful about the guest experience because, as you know, bad reviews happen very quickly and people don't write good reviews. So within 24 hours, if you have a bad guest experience, you know, you're going to be out there and it's going to ding you. The brands don't like us to hear us say this, but we typically run above their market averages, just because the way we like to operate and maintain our guest experience, and you know, and really react to things that happen on a daily basis. So we try to make sure our training is sufficient, that anything that happens, things happen with guests, that they're handled, you know, and you know, we're involved in the communities. We try to find the local managers to come in that don't have to drive a long ways away, and you know, we're able to employ staff at a local level and have a great program for them for, you know, retirement and such. So we're excited and glad to be part of it. Thank you.
Any questions for the council on this the project or for the guests here? Okay, Mr. West. Okay, Mr. Spriggs.
It's really good to see you and to meet you all face to face. One of the questions that I had when I went through the well put together materials was, who is this Therrelson Hospitality? That now we have the face of hospitality, Therrelson Hospitality. And you've covered a number of things I wanted to ask about, which is your, you know, basically your resume, what kind of with what hotel companies you have operated for, etc. I assume that I just want to understand the relationship between Sudbury and Therrelson and the Hilton brand that will be on site. You guys are going to own it. You're going to operate it. Could you just explain a little bit those relationships and going forward over the next several years, who's going to be
Mr. Sudbury,
really
love to have you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good to see you, sir.
Sudbury Properties. Good evening. Great to be back in front of you after finally got the first phase open. Big success. We're happy we could get that done and move on and complete the project. Good question. I meant to get into that in a little more detail, so you kind of jump right to it. But we've had some questions and some concerns from some that maybe we're selling the hotel site. That's not the case. We're partnering. We very much want to stay involved and own the asset for long-term hold. That's what our company does. We're long-term holders. We're not merchant builders. But sometimes, you know what you know, and we're not hotel experts. We're retail development experts. And so we felt like this site lent itself very well for a hotel, and we just went over all the economic benefits for the city of it over another retailer that frankly we were having a difficult time identifying anybody that we thought would really add any real value to the city. And so we went down this path, and we decided instead of trying to do it ourselves, we'll bring in the expert, but we're going to be a true partner with them. We're not selling it to them. We're going to develop it together, own it together. We'd have to bring in an investor anyhow to help us fund the project, and so why not have the investor also be someone who's an expert in developing the hotels as well? So so they will help us develop it. They will also manage it. Hilton Hampton Inn's the flag. So they will be the reservation system and the name, but in almost all cases, like 99% of the cases, a Hampton Inn is actually owned by somebody other than the Hilton company. They're the flag, and then there's an owner and a management company that runs it.
Understood. Thank you so much for that clarification. And I also wanted, you'd mentioned the Tharaldson folk employment, and local employment is a very important priority, as you know, from our conversations with the city council in connection with your outstanding project that's already up and running, which we're very, very happy about. I mean, I get nothing but great comments from the community about it. So you're coming into a real winning situation already. But the question of employment and good quality jobs and how this will actually be made available to Imperial Beach residents. I mean, we would like to see, especially since we're in a way partners on this, in both aspects of this project, since we've helped to fund it and we will continue to be doing so with the DOT. We obviously want to see Imperial Beach residents given, a priority for jobs, not only construction, but the ongoing permanent jobs associated with the hotel and ongoing with the whole project, as a matter of fact. So perhaps you could reiterate a little bit what the plan is for finding and retaining employees.
It's as you would find with almost any local business, because that's what this is, the local business. It will, we'll select and find the general manager that's qualified to really be the representation of the hotel over time, and that's really the key component. As you can imagine, developing as many hotels as we've done over the course of our careers, that's really the magic, is finding that right general manager. And you may start with one that doesn't necessarily work out, and so you keep getting that right general manager who's really going to orchestrate and select the team that they're going to bring on. The great thing about Imperial Beach is the caliber of the individuals that you have here to hire from. I mean, we've spent enough time down here to know that everyone is a proud citizen and sophisticated enough to be able to add value to our program and our guest experience. So they will do anything from publishing on the social media to all the the monster.com to select applicants. And believe me, you have plenty of qualified local people who we want as part of our team.
It sounds like a good system, but I didn't quite hear you say that all things else being equal,
we'll have job fairs and different things like that.
That the local resident will get, all else being equal. That's kind of what I think our community would like to hear, and there's reasons for that, including parking and congestion. Sure. If we have local IB people employed, the money is earned here, the money will be spent here more, but also folks will be able to get to work, on Lime bikes or something else,
right,
or walking, exactly. So sure. Actually having built in that sort of a local preference is something I think.
And we'll work with the local chamber and the city as well. Once we get to that point, we're ready to start reaching out to try to find. A lot of it's referral. A lot of it's having family members that are, so it's really a local. It's really a local product that in these hotels that are, they're in these these communities. It's really that because they become your family because they're there all day every day, right? And so they're the face of our program. So you want them in the community interacting with the visitors, when we have the peak seasons and they're able to say, oh yeah, I work at this hotel, you should come by. So that's really what we're about. I think you find that in most hotels, limited service hotels. It's really a local employment.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Colton, did you have any more? Were you done, or?
Unless there's any other questions for me.
Great, thank you. We appreciate you coming out, and we'll make sure we go to public comment and have additional questions or comments. Did you have a question? Yeah.
Thorson. Is it Thorson? Thorson.
I'm sorry, Bob.
No. Yeah, just real quick. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and I understand with the jobs. I go to Breakwater quite often, and the majority of the people I always ask, where are you from? Majority of them are from IB, and some say I take the bus here from local area. And I mean, truly, it's a very local shopping center right now and probably would see the same at the hotel, hopefully. A number of people came up to me, including my 15-year-old son, a sophomore at the local high school. He goes, Dad, he goes, that hotel isn't going to have a name eventually with an 8 or a 6, is it? You know, if it doesn't do well, I mean, what's going to happen? Is it going to downgrade? Is it going to change hands? And this is from this is from a 15-year-old.
Smart kid.
The mayor knows him. And I just go, that's a great question. I'm going to bring it up. So
yeah, it is a great question. As a point of reference, we have a pretty broad build program. We open a hotel about once a month across the United States. We have a heavy concentration emphasis in California, predominantly because we're only looking to build in locations where we're going to keep this for a lifetime. These are legacy properties. One of the reasons we're considering matching up with the Sudbury folks is they have the same. You know, these things are hard. I mean, they're expensive. There's a lot of risk. There's going to be cycles. You have to be able to bear the cycle. And so, as we come in and do this work, and you know, we're doing this every 3 weeks across the country. You know, we want to make sure that they're solid and everything's well thought out, well planned. So, we only do Hilton, Marriott brands and IHG, which they're the cream of the crop. And the Hampton Inn, and you can do your research. Wikipedia will tell you, is the strongest hotel brand in the country. So we were surprised when Hilton approached us and said, we think this could work. You should talk to the folks. You know, obviously, doing what we do, you know, you look at typical market demographics and you drive up and down and you're just like, I don't know if you're going to spend that kind of money in here and get the return. So you have to get deeper. You have to get into the fabric. You got to start looking at what's happening economically next door, what's happening on the other side of you, you know, to the south. And, you know, I think you have to, once you see those things, you can see the opportunities there. The market's not there, but it's kind of one of those things that's going to happen if you do it. So, you know, that's, we stopped doing Super 8s in the late 80s. So we evolved.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
And yes, he wants a job.
I know some great hotel companies in different markets.
Thanks, sir. Was it Mr.
Cape?
Mr. Cape? Okay, so I am
Please call me Don.
the Don Mark. I travel on my job is I do test directing for the Navy. So I travel all over the country, and I'm a Marriott Rewards and Hilton Rewards, and I live at those hotels a lot. My neighbors are here, and they could attest to how much I'm gone. Well, my question is that as I travel around the country, most of the time I see, you know, electric car charging stations at most of these hotels going up. And is that something you normally would build into projects?
Not as many as are required by code, but yes, we do that.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys coming out.
Thank you.
We're going to go to public comment now.
And we're happy to exchange our contact information individually. If you have any questions, we're always available. I always answer my phone.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to public comment. Did you have on? Well, let's want to wait. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to open up public comment. We have Bob Miller.
Mayor, council members, Bob Miller, 1167 5th Street. I'd like to first start off with saying that Sudbury has really been a good partner. They stayed the course, and a lot of people wouldn't have done what you did. And then they built a really good project. And to me, this is kind of capping it out. I can't think of a better use. They had difficulties with finding a good retail. So this was, in my opinion, the very best choice for this site. We don't have this kind of accommodation. We've never had this kind of accommodation in Imperial Beach, and it's time that we have it. And to me, it's just a total win-win. You've got the best partner, and you have the best location. What could be better in the center of the city? Now you have this, like you say, the Lime Bike. These guys can save money, rent a hotel here, take their family on their Lime Bike down at the beach, and get back. And everything's a win-win as far as the finances go. So I'm really excited about this. And, you know, the other cities, Coronado, National City, Chula Vista, they have this level of accommodation. We don't. So it's our turn. And along with this, it is the highest and best use for this site. I can't think of anything better. It also is going to complement their center. It's going to help their center. It's going to be a back and forth win-win. It's going to complement Pier South. It's going to complement the new hotel being built when it's built down on Seacoast and IB Boulevard. Also, we're going to get a spillover from the Chula Vista Bayfront development. There'll be reasons for people from there to come over here. I don't see any impact. I mean, to me, these kind of hotels, the impact is really minimal. I've stayed a lot at them. I mean, they just don't impact their surroundings, except in a positive way. And these, you know, Sudbury's big on design. Maybe you guys can win an orchid. The library did. So anyway, it fills the need. It brings in increased revenues, and I'm all for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miller. Scott Jennings.
Good evening. I'm Scott. Mayor, members of the City Council. First want to begin, thank you for all of your hard work. You guys have done an amazing job with Imperial Beach. Since I've been following it, I've been here a long time. I've listened to your band. I've surfed with you. I've been around here forever. And I mean, my great grandmother, so I live at 759 7th Street. Literally, this hotel is in my front porch. I could throw a lemon and hit it without even trying. I also own 757 7th Street, so I have two homes right there that are going to be hugely impacted. I love what Sudbury's done. I think you guys did a beautiful job. I'm a builder. I'm a general contractor, so I know the industry very well. These guys kick butt. I know it was an arduous event, and you guys went through it and back. And I commend you for sticking with it, giving us the project that we so deserve and we wanted and we were sought after. The hotel, I mean, I got to tell you, man, this is like a punch in the gut, because I'm literally looking at a 4-story hotel. And when we traced D.R. Horton away, that had 248 condos that were from 7th Street to 9th Street. Remember when you were going to do eminent domain against our doctor's office? And that was a really bad deal.
Remember, that was none of us.
No, okay. No. That was the past deal,
you were
right?
there? Okay, sorry.
Right,
Laura
so,
was
I mean,
there.
it was literally, I mean, it was like, I mean, it was a really bad deal. So now, instead of the 248 spread out over 3 blocks, you're literally putting 100 condos right next to my front porch that turn over every 24 hours. It's going to be 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and they'll literally change ownership every single night. So from the impact of it's not going to impact anyone, it's going to impact me in a huge way, to the point where I want to move. You know, you guys, it was always about keeping IB this little small town environment and having this little, you know, beautiful community. And so when my great grandmother bought the dirt in 1940, it was R4 high density commercial overlay. Beautiful investment. When I bought it from her, it was R4 high density commercial overlay. And then one swipe after another, it went down to R2, and I built a second place. That's why I own 2 houses. And then it went down to R1. So you guys wanted this beautiful environment to be this little small town deal. And now you're putting this massive hotel right next to this R1. And I could not find any spot in Southern California that has this massive hotel next to an R1. So if you guys are going to do this to us.
Mr. Jennings, you just wrap it up.
Sorry?
You just wrap it up. That'd be great.
Okay, wrap it up. So if you're going to do this, give us our zoning back, because I know that you guys are going to make a lot of revenue on this. I figured out how much money you guys make on the tax revenue of our block, Coronado South Manor, on lot 1, 2, 3, Carson's number 2, right? Of these 8 lots, we make, you guys make $7,000, $8,000. If you knock it all down, give us our zoning back. Let's build 64 bitching condos. You guys will make $400K a year. Same revenue as a hotel. So if we're gonna all do a big group hug and all want to make money, let's all do a big group hug and let's all make money. I'll go off. And Andy, thank you for all of your work. I know you work really hard. I know you guys work really hard. I'm just like shocked that this is literally going right next to my house. So thank
you so much. Appreciate it. Mr. Fisher.
All right, Jack Fisher, 7618. You know, I look around tonight, I see some of the same faces. We've been dealing with this for years and years, and I'm hoping tonight we kind of put this to rest and get to the second phase and be finished. I know that some of my neighbors aren't happy about this. I live prime view of the shopping center. I'm right to the grocery store. Tons of traffic, lots of lights, lots of noise, lots of busyness. I'm totally okay with it. Hasn't changed my life at all. There's really nothing negative about it. You know, I was concerned because when you drive up on the lot and you're in the parking lot up there, as you drive, you can see everything in my backyard. Everything. There's nothing hidden at all in my backyard or my neighbor across the street. You know what that means? I have young kids. You know what it means to me? Nothing changes. Nothing has changed at all, other than we have a nice, thriving business center next to our house again. I'm grateful for Sudbury. I know Steen and we've talked hundreds and hundreds of times. They're great partners. There's nothing better than we could do. You know, I know that Scott's worried about the traffic, and by living next to a grocery store, a heck of a lot more traffic than what a hotel would ever bring. You know, I came in this evening after looking at the city council agenda, a little concerned about the TOT sharing. Is something that kind of blew me off course again. You know, a lot of times we hit these surprises that just pop up. There was nothing in my notice of this meeting that said we were talking about TOT sharing. And so again, another surprise, but once again, I have faith and confidence in the city council, city staff. I did my best to look through as much of the notes and decipher what I could. It really does seem like the best thing for us to do, to be partners. We're no longer giving away our city. We're not giving anything to anybody. We're partnering up with the right people to make our city better for the future. And, you know, like I said, I really hope this is the final nail for us to get this project done. I don't think we can take any more meetings, community meetings, anything else to hash this out. I think a decision just needs to be made. And the decision has to be something that looks at the big picture for the betterment of the city itself. Us residents, no matter where you live, there's projects going on throughout the entire city. Somebody takes a hit here and there. But in my case, and I think that many of my neighbors would agree, that life is better, and that some of our concerns that we have really haven't materialized into any further concerns or anything like that. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. Leyland Deshawn. Leyland Deshawn, are you here? Okay. She had traffic concerns. Anyway. Great. With that, we'll move on to council comment. Mayor Pro Tem Bragg. And again, thanks everybody for coming out and speaking. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I would first like to give my thanks to Mr. Dush for the presentation. Mr. Morrow, you're always an excellent presenter, and how you sift through all this information and make it something that we can understand and appreciate. I do appreciate that from you. Esteem, Colton, I feel like, I hate to say this, but I feel like we're married. We have been together for so long on this project. But you know what? That's what we wanted. That's exactly what we wanted, was a long-term commitment, not a short-term. That's not what we're interested in here. So it was said, you have stayed the course, and we appreciate that. You could have up and left at any time. You could have divorced us, and you didn't. And so now you're bringing, I feel now like, okay, we're continuing on. Our family is growing. And I appreciate the depth that you have researched to bring this partner to us. This is the highest and best use of this piece of property. And Mr. Fisher, your comments really carry a lot of weight, because you were one of the major naysayers when breakwater was going in, and we talked it out as we do here in Imperial Beach. It has, I guess, stood the test of time. I really do appreciate you being here and bringing those comments forward to be part of the record, because as a property owner, directly impacted, it carries a lot of weight that you say, you know what, my life hasn't changed that much. Mr. Jennings, I hope you don't move, I hope you can be a Mr. Fisher and wait it out and see what happens. Okay, well, we'll miss you. What's interesting to me is the job creation as well. 96% of the people who work don't work in Imperial Beach. 96% of the people who work leave our community. So if at 30 jobs, if we can erode those figures little by little, every week, every month, every year, that's how we are transforming this community as well. That's how we're reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. That's why Lime Bike is so important. And we had a comment card from somebody who was stating that they had traffic concerns. The hotel visitor of today is very different. They're not driving in. They're probably using an Uber, and they're getting dropped off somewhere. Hopefully they're using public transportation to get here as well. So they're using already existing traffic. Those traffic concerns, I think, are mitigated very well by our traffic plans. Paul, I thought that your slide 29 and slide 30 in your presentation were just awesome and really hit the nail on the head if you wanted to pull those up. What was important to me, that this represents a long-term revenue stream for our community, not something, we're not about, making a few bucks overnight. This is a long-term revenue stream. That's, I think, why it is so important. The TOT sharing may have concerns for some people. I think we have to look at who our partner is and where we want to go with our partner. So I think it's the right thing to do. So I totally support the project. And again, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember West.
This hotel, I think, is going to fit something that has been missing. We built Pier South. The people behind me built Pier South, and they put a hotel on our beach that, it's kind of the creme de la creme of people. So we don't have a place where hardworking families can actually come and stay near the beach. I mean, that's what this hotel is going to do that. And I think that that's something that's really been missing for our community. And I think this 101 rooms, I hope, is full every night of families just wanting to spend time to come to our beach. But there's going to be some businessmen. There's going to be people that, like myself, traveling. And some of these men are consumers who are very concerned about the environment. And I go across, I rent hybrids everywhere I go. I try to find things. And that's something that this hotel is missing. You brought up a good point. I asked you kind of straight to the point, because I'm like, why is there no car charging stations at this hotel? I mean, in all of our breakwater project, there's no electric car charging. We are changing. I mean, China just recently said in 10 years, they're going to have all electric cars. Why? In California has embraced this. So are we going to have electric car charging stations at the breakwater?
Required.
So how many stations?
Hey, Mr. West, I just want to make sure that's off topic. So we want to address that issue at a later time, but we got to focus on hotel stuff.
Well, it is part of the hotel.
Okay, but you're asking about breakwater project. You're not asking about the hotel.
I'm talking about the breakwater project as far as the hotel and that project.
Okay.
So there will be. Okay, great. And then Andy, I got a question for you. What is the TOT that Chula Vista agreed to go into on the bayfront?
Nothing, zero.
Well, I don't want to speak for Chula Vista, but it's my understanding that they're surrendering 100% of their TOT property tax and sales tax for quite a period of time. I think it's 20 years or something. But I don't know all the details, but I think that's
I could add to that, Mr. Hall. Kaiser Marston is working for the port.
Great.
On the Chula Vista Bayfront, which is a partnership between the port, the city of Chula Vista, and the developer. The port Board of Commissioners and the City Council in a joint meeting June 20 approved a letter of intent. So I can speak to what's in that.
Great.
And they're both throwing in lots of revenues. In the case of the city, essentially all of the TOT, sales tax, and some other revenues for as long as 37 years. It's a major public subsidy. And we're working on the 53083 Economic Development Subsidy Report there.
Great. So we're getting a much better deal out of this. Yeah. That's what I was trying to get at.
This is a fraction of that contribution.
Well, thank you very much. And I do believe that you, Colton and Christine, are in the long-term haul for this. And I really appreciate this. And I know you've picked the right partner. And thank you. So I support 100%.
Mr. Sprague. Mr. Patton, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Could you put up the panoramic slide? That one just passed. What's the elevation change from the hotel all the way down to say grocery outlet? Is how much higher is the hotel than that other platform? If you know offhand.
I don't know offhand. I'd have to pull the grading
but
plans.
It is slightly, or
Yeah. When you're out there, you can tell that the topography does increase, but I don't know what that footage is.
Oh, okay. Just from the picture and driving, it seems like there's a slight elevation. I wrote some notes. Access, is there going to be access from? I know from the front. How about anything from the rear? Or is that still closed off? Where that alley is, that's
still closed off, right? So the access into the site remains at this location, and then over here.
And then their exit, obviously, is going to be the same. My concern is the exit on 9th, where somebody's going to either make a right turn on 9th or a left turn on 9th. And I know so far so good. It's been pretty good, but with the increased traffic, I think that's something we need to look at.
We're absolutely monitoring all of this throughout through not only the construction, but then when it's fully developed, like we normally will, throughout the site, and also with the improvements at the intersection of 9th and Palm too. So that's actually a non-static sort of review that staff will perform.
Because I know people that live anywhere west of Breakwater, if they had to go out of the two sites that aren't on 9th, the one towards Baskin Robbins and the one further west, then that almost puts them into this weird loop, so
unless they ride their bike like me.
Yeah, unless you ride their bike. But I carry so much food, I can't carry it. And then one of the other things is that I wrote down is just being a good neighbor. Obviously we're right along that pathway. What are the electrical lines going to be going into the hotel? Are they going to be underground?
Yeah, everything on site is underground.
Okay, great. And how many parking spaces? I think you meant
101.
101.
One per room.
One per room. Okay. Yeah, and then the last thing I had was, is this a first reading, and we move on, or what is?
No, this is not an ordinance. There are 4 separate resolutions.
Okay. So could you explain?
Well, the one resolution related to the successor agency where you're approving the change to the purchase and sale agreement, that needs to go to the oversight board next week and then up to DOF. But other than that, the city council doesn't have any more actions to take with respect to this.
Because I think I agree a lot with Mr. Fisher. Let's get this moving. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for great answers.
Thanks everyone for great presentations. I also had concerns about the TOT sharing, and had a number of conversations with City Manager Andy Hall over the months when this deal was sort of coming together, about how it was going to be financed and how much we would have to give away to make it happen and that sort of thing. And so I don't know whether he was already doing this work or whether I pressed him to do it, but he certainly looked into a lot of other situations. And it looks like we're getting really a pretty good deal. And the numbers that you showed us in terms of what they're going to clear indicate clearly that this is a partnership that's needed in order to make the deal work. And I'm grateful that you all aren't going to pull out unless you get more for a longer period of time. I think that's very important and noteworthy here. The design, which was 5-0 approved by the Design Review Board, is I think outstanding. The color schemes, so it all blends in well with the whole project. I think we really can't complain about the design. The height, well, you know, we have height limits. They meet the height limits. We fought over those height limits. That's a story that's done. And economically, you really can't have a project like this if we want to say, no, just make it 2 stories or make it 3 stories. We can't really get the kind of development that's going to produce these benefits for the community and for visitors and for our finances with, I would imagine, anything less than 100 rooms or so. And as others on the council have said, it really fills a niche that we don't have in Imperial Beach, and it's going to add a lot of value to Imperial Beach. The one thing I wanted to ask a little bit about has to do with the traffic question. And no one's really been able to answer this question before other than anecdotally out of our own experience. And for you guys who operate the hotels especially, I think the question is, assuming there's 70% or 80% occupancy, what is the traffic flow likely to be in and out of a hotel of this type with the kind of market that you have anticipated prior to deciding to invest in this? Is it going to primarily be rush hour, morning and evening with working folks? Is it going to be late at night? Because some of the neighbors might be concerned about, Grocery Outlet and the other retailers there have evening activity. That's part of what we wanted. But what would the hotel add to that? Or are hotel residents in a hotel of this type typically in and done by 8 or 9 o'clock or whatever? So could you speak a little bit about what kind of impact traffic-wise we're likely to have?
It's a great question. We get asked quite a bit across the board as we travel up and down doing these frequencies we do. And what is interesting is it's evolved and it's evolving with ride-sharing programs and the line bike programs, and more people are traveling together. So you have one car for 2 rooms in a lot of situations. But when you operate and run these things 24/7 like you do, and there's nuances specific to certain markets that are heavily into a rental car product where you're going to have a different program. But as you drive around the parking lot, when you pull in late because you missed your flight and you get there at 11 and you're like, can't find a parking spot. You can't find a parking spot that's up front. But there's always about 20 open spots per 100 rooms is about what we see. And some of the jurisdictions are starting to recognize that. The thing that's great here is you get the opposite loading and unloading as you do the retail. So when the retail goes dark is when the hotel guests will start to filter in, right? So you're really getting a neutral and even a less effect you'd have if they would have built that retail. Your average AM PM peak trips would be much higher than the hotel. So if you look at all the traffic studies, they all say that you have 8.33 trips per room per day for a hotel. And I can't imagine any one of you that's went back and forth to their hotel room 8 times in one day. So those statistics are antiquated, and certainly we see those, and so progressive, logic tells you that, if you travel enough, you see that. But as far as the cars coming and going out of the hotel, Hampton Inn guests, and as you said, 60 to 70% of these guests are Hilton Honors members, so they're accustomed to travel already. So they're not going to be lost in their way when they're going to and fro. They know their destination. They know why they're going where they're going. And a lot of these people are going to park their car here and they're going to get out and walk. That's the great thing about Imperial Beach is most of these people in today's age, they don't travel as much as I do, or are in shape because they're walking from place to place. So the great thing about this is they don't even have to leave the project. They can almost get everything they need to get on site. So that's the other great thing about putting these hotels and retail centers is you don't generate trips, you eliminate trips. So again, it's your son's question, the logic answer, right? So when you start to really set and drill down on it, those things all seem to surface as logical. You'll find that it's like watching paint dry. Watch 100 rooms, like you said, 80% occupancy. That's going to be great. Anticipate that, but then X% of those are ride sharing, X% of those are sharing cars because they're traveling together. Originally, you're going to the beach, I'm going with you. So you're going to get a lot of that. And then families, you're going to get two, 3 rooms for 1 carload of kids when the Griswolds come. So you're going to have all that. So you won't notice the traffic. And the charging stations, again, to answer your question, yes, I think we're required to provide to be flexible or scalable for 7 EV stations for Cal Green Code. So thank you.
I was talking to the grandson of a family that moved here in the 1920s, and we both grew up in IB, and we're talking about the fact that what's remarkable at Imperial Beach is that we're somehow astounded that we have a new shopping center and a new hotel coming, when those of us who grew up here in IB know that we used to have all that stuff, and that somehow our residents got used to having a city filled with empty lots and literally no hotels and no grocery store and no quality retail that most cities of 28,000 throughout the United States have and just take for granted. That's your commercial corridor, right? Your hub that generates the revenue, which is why we have one of the lowest sales tax revenues per person in the county. And our city is, a traditional low-income city, and our residents have gotten used to the fact that our city doesn't provide a high quality of life or have this kind of services, recreational services, quality swimming pool, and all kinds of things that most cities take for granted, and the folks up in Coronado take for granted. So when I look at that revenue coming in over 15 years, what I see is a swimming pool. That's what I see. Or I see a senior center. And I see the kind of things that most people just take for granted. So our residents have been really patient because they have accepted just having less than every other city just takes for granted. So what I see in this hotel is the TOT, and I'm glad it was well documented how we're still going to get a significant revenue. And I still think in the future, hopefully we can raise our TOT. I think it's too low because we need to invest that back in our seniors and back in our kids, so we have really quality recreational facilities for our families. But so we have those kind of revenues. So I appreciated that. So I'm bullish on this project. I'm bullish on hotels in general, and getting involved with Sudbury in this project I've joked about it before. It was sort of like a graduate course in economic development. I was in Las Vegas with Colton, and we went to the shopping center convention, and there, that was a few years ago, and we saw this change in the retail landscape, and really the discussion about hotels and how these shopping centers are really lifestyle centers, and that's what this is going to become. By building this hotel, we create jobs for those restaurants that we're concerned about having an impact on that they're going to have to convert to cardboard, right? That means the folks in this hotel can walk over to the gym that I belong to, and maybe they're gonna do a day membership, right? They're gonna use those line bikes and go for a ride on the Bayshore Bikeway, right? They're gonna patronize local restaurants, and it's gonna be great when their local kids have jobs in that hotel as well. So big supporter of this project and this concept, and the reason is because what we've seen from the beginning from Sudbury and the Breakwater project is A+ quality, and it's been a really fascinating project. And I appreciate the fact that Sudbury has been very open about, you took a risk, and we didn't know how it was going to turn out. But the fact is, it's kind of like the line bikes. We didn't know either, and it's been a huge success. That project's been a big success. The community was drawn to it. So I'll tell you my Hamptons hotel story, because my family uses Hamptons. That's, as we're in Springdale, Utah, Zion, or we took a trip up to San Onofre and San Clemente to surf when my kids were younger. My wife the surf was so good and we had such a great time. It was a Saturday. We didn't leave. So we went to CVS and bought some toothbrushes, and my wife bought a t-shirt and some other stuff because she just had her bathing suit and some shorts. And we checked into the Hamptons Inn and we stayed there for 2 days. We had such a great time. It was one of our best ever family vacations. Hamptons Inn was a perfect choice for our family. And Sony, I'm really glad we're going to have that kind of thing here. And that means that our baseball families, when we have those Little League tournaments, they'll be staying there. That means when we have water polo tournaments at our new swimming pool in the future, hopefully that's where those families will be staying. That's where the SEAL team folks, families that are going to be visiting, the guys that are in training, they're going to be staying there, right? So it's a great project for our community, but the real issue is it's amazing we didn't have it already. And that just shows how far we've come. So I'm really excited about the quality businesses that have been attracted to invest in our community. We thank you guys. We know how risky it is to invest in this day and age. So our commitment is to continue to work with you to make this project a success. So with that, I'm ready to move forward. Sorry about losing my voice. So I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2017-7866.
Second.
Please vote. We've got a number of these to do, so.
Motion carried unanimously.
Great. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2017-7072 with a condition related to any future TOT increases going to the city.
Second.
Please vote. Okay, we're number 3. Did we get that? All right. Actually, it's locked. Oh, locked. Mine's locked up.
We've got to revote. Revote.
Mine's locked.
My little thing's not. My thing's off.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried unanimously.
You gonna reset that so we can go to the next one? I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2017-7873.
Second.
Please vote. Clock.
I think we're a little bit ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried unanimously.
Great. And then last but not least, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number SA 1760.
Oh, second.
Okay.
Sorry.
You have to do an oral vote, right? Clock.
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carried unanimously.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Didn't think so.
Wasn't sure you're going to get past the technology blow.
Man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. Great. We're on to 4.2. Mark West has an announcement for agenda item 4.2.
Oh, I have to recuse myself
Due to your location of your residence.
due to my location of my residence.
Thank you.
If we don't have any more guest presenters, could we take like a 2-minute? Oh, we do? Okay, well, let's take it after the next guest presenter.
Sure. Item 4.2, David Sweeney, ST Alpha applicant, regular coastal permit, design review case, site plan review, tentative map, and categorical. Can we shut that door back there? Somebody? There you go. And categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA guidelines section for the construction of 5 new residential condominium units at 178 Daisy Avenue. Call the public hearing to order. City Planner Fultz will receive the report.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll give the report.
Mayor, members of the council, this is for the construction of 5 new units at 178 Daisy Avenue. The property is located in the R2000 medium density residential zone. The lot is a little under 13,000 square feet, so it'll allow for 6 units. However, the project is only proposing 5 units. The property is located at 2nd Street and Daisy Avenue. Today, 6 units exist on the property, and there's 8 open parking spaces off of one large curb cut off of Daisy Avenue. This is the site as it sits today. Properties to the west, to the east, to the south, and the north. And this is a site plan for the project. Again, there's 5 units. There'd be a private yard for each unit. Traffic, vehicular access would locate off of the alley. There'd be 5 2-car garages, so each unit would have a 2-car garage. The project would remove that large curb cut off of Daisy Avenue, so it would restore public parking spaces off of Daisy. There'd be 2 courtyards for 2 of the units, and the applicant staggered the units so that there wouldn't be a flat building wall along Daisy Avenue or the alley, so it's nice and staggered. This is a landscape plan for the project, various trees and shrubs throughout, permeable pavers and synthetic turf. These are some of the elevations. One thing to note, the project is proposing roof decks for each unit. However, all the roof decks and parapet walls are still underneath the 26-foot height limit, so it's just something that's proposed by the applicant. Some of the materials are fiber cement siding, stucco siding, aluminum steel awnings, galvanized metal steel guardrails, and aluminum doors and windows. And these are the floor plans for the project. On the first floor, there'd be living and dining room, kitchen, garages, and yards. On the second floor, there'd be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a laundry room, and then each unit would have 2 decks. And then there'd also be a roof deck, which would have a fireplace, a sink, a grill and barbecue seating area. And again, all those amenities would be below the height limit. And these are renderings for the project. The design review board reviewed the project. They recommend approval of the design with a 5-0 vote. They did have a couple comments. One, they wanted the applicant to consider alternate patio materials. That's with regards to this block wall here. Right now, the applicant is proposing precision block. They feel it goes well with the modern design that they're proposing. They did consider a split face block, but they felt that it detracted from their modern appearance. They also considered a tile that would go on top of the block, but they felt as time would go on, some of the tiles could be removed or some of the owners could change the tiles. So they like the proposal that they have today with the precision block. In addition, the design review board requested that they consider alternate materials with regards to the aluminum windows and doors, or at least speak to how long those materials would last. So the applicant looked into that. They didn't feel that vinyl materials would fit in well with their design, or wood, because they felt it would be a maintenance concern. The aluminum would have a 45-year lifespan. These are condo units, so there'd be an HOA, so there would be upkeep of all these units on an ongoing basis. These are more renderings for the project. This is looking at it from the alley. With that, staff would recommend that the council adopt resolution 2017-7867 that would approve the project. You could also approve the project with modifications, disapprove the project, and deny any requested permits with findings, or continue the hearing to a future date. One thing to note, the architect and the property owners are here if there are any questions for them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Foltz. Are there any public speakers on this item?
No, there are no speaker slips for this item.
Thank you. Did he declare this open?
He did.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. Council members, do you have any comments or questions for either the applicant or the architect or Mr. Foltz? Mr. Patton?
Architect. How are you doing? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Chris Sawaya. I'm the architect for this development.
Architect, okay. And so I'm noticing on Daisy Street, and if you're familiar with Imperial Beach, Daisy Street, could definitely use a structure like this. And I think it's going to be something that's going to really, hopefully, get other builders in that area to say, hey, we could do that too. So I'm kind of excited about this project. Two questions. One, the white, is that just like a bright white, flat white color? I mean, white's white, right? So tell me about, I noticed a lot of structures and beach, around the beach, that white looks great for a little while. And some of the building material underneath, say some of the metal lath or whatnot, might work its way through. And then next thing you know, you have rust lines coming through. And can you tell me about that or address that?
Yeah. So I think I know what you mean. Is that some of the metal joints, you can see the rust kind of coming down. And
right. And then of course, rust just keeps spreading and spreading and never gets fixed.
Yeah. So I can say one of the benefits of the white versus another color that may or may not hide the rust is as the fading over time. So white will kind of hold its color as opposed to a darker blue or red or orange that might look good when it's first built, but really start to kind of dry out. And with all that being said, in terms of the rust, there will be the HOA for this project, and so there'll be guidelines for each home to keep up the appearance based on a certain set of rules of how it was when it was built. And in other developments where there's not a condominium association, I think I found that to be a really big problem. And I feel like that's part of the push of the BRE lowering the number of units before it's a required HOA, because some of the shared landscaping or other utilities can really start to deteriorate. So that's one of the benefits, and I don't really see that kind of being a long-term problem.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I notice that on like maybe a private home.
Right.
Where of course they don't have the HOA.
Right.
And then the rooftop deck. Is there a picture of that? Other than that, there's nothing else. How much lower is that deck compared to? Is there like a 3-foot wall? There must be something in code.
Right. The code requirement for the height of the roof up to the top of the parapet is 42 inches, and that's just the current code requirement for a guardrail. So it'll be made out of parapet. It'll look like it's part of the building. It's not going to be an alternate material or anything, and that's just the adequate height for safety.
Gas fireplace, outdoor kitchen.
Right.
Are there going to be dividing walls separating each unit, or is it going to be one big party up there?
Yeah. So if you go to the roof plan, it'll be generally one big party.
Right.
But you can see we tried to stagger the decks as much as possible, for as much privacy as we can. And with the height limit where it was, there wasn't a lot of opportunity to kind of divide them more so.
Yeah, I've been to places like this downtown, and people snap these units up quick. Can we ask about the potential price, or is that?
You can ask about it. It can't be a requirement,
Right.
but obviously you can ask what
Is there a price range of these, or is that something you're ready to talk about? Whatever the market will endure. That's close. Okay, thank you very much for coming up.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to talk?
Thank you for coming up, and I have no reason to second guess the review you guys already have been through with the design review board, and looks like they asked a number of questions and approved it 5-0. But one question that they asked that shows up in the minutes, I'm a little curious about, and that's there's one water meter for the project, or was that an error in the minute?
Yeah, I believe that was an error. There'll be one water meter per unit.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that'll serve the home as well as the landscaping and that for that
Okay, all right. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foltz, would you happen to know the age or what year the current building was built?
I
Current
did
units?
not look that up. I would guess 60s.
60s? Okay. The reason why I wanted to comment on that is that, you know, when you look around the housing stock in the city of Imperial Beach, you're right, Mr. Patton. It's real, some of it is really starting to show its age. So I too am hopeful that on Daisy Avenue that this will be one of those domino effects that we'll start to see, another project improving little by little. Some of these, you figure, well, this is almost 50 years old. It's starting, and certainly looks at it and certainly, I'm
No, you're
older than
older
that.
than
So yeah. Anyways, I think it's a great project, and I think it's about time for a nice looking project. So I would support it as is. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution.
Motion.
Motion carried by the following vote. Ayes, Dedina, Bragg, Patton, Spriggs. Disqualified, Councilmember West.
There's no.
We're gonna take a 5-minute. 2.2 Go. And I jogged down like 3 of. There's plenty left. They got more this time than. Thank you. 906 10th Street is appropriate and that the conditions are substandard and constitute a public nuisance. Ordering the abatement of the substandard and public nuisance conditions, authorizing legal action, assessing cost of abatement and civil penalties. I'm calling the public hearing to order. Assistant City Manager Dish will give the report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. With me this evening is Ann Serena from our law services as well, to be joining me here today. And so, as the mayor had indicated, this is a sort of chronic code violation case for property located at 906 10th Street. And so, always beginning with the what, in this case, what's going to be asked of the city council this evening is to declare the property a public nuisance, order an abatement by a date certain, and then if that property is unabated, authorize staff to initiate legal action, including but not limited to civil action seeking injunctive relief, civil penalties, and a receivership. So here is the property located right here, and we are located about right here, so not too far away from us. Here's just a list of some of the multiple violations. The genesis dates back to March of 15th. And so here's kind of where we started with this case in terms of folks living in an RV and dilapidated property. And I'll just take you through a sequence of some of these photos here. Here we can see a bunch of debris, haven for all sorts of bad things and rodents and whatnot, penetrations into the house. And this one is a picture of a clogged sewer system. And again, just awful conditions in terms of health, safety, and welfare within our community. Here's a picture of residents living in the garage, of course, without any permits and whatnot, and then pictures of the bathroom facilities. Here is a picture of the discarded red tag that we placed on the property. And then again, it got to the point to where we had to get the building boarded up. That is not a good site for the community. And then, of course, we start to get graffiti. People try to break and enter into the home. Public resources having to go out and continually try to board up and secure the residents. And then again, a picture of the site here, again, located within the heart of our community. And then here is the notice of abatement and the notice of the council hearing that is going on this evening. So it's to the point to where we can't get a hold of the property owner. And so this is the process that we're requesting to go through. And again, the recommendation is that the city council approve the resolution, which again would, among other things, declare a public nuisance, order an abatement by a date certain, and if that doesn't occur, then we would go through and seek civil actions, including injunctive relief, civil penalties, and receivership. And that concludes my presentation.
Any discussion? Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Thank you for doing this. And I think it's important that this city shows our residents that we're committed to removing blight, and regardless of who owns it. And I know residents had contacted us about this. Additionally, when I was campaigning, I saw an incident at this property as well. So really a little scary. So it's really important that we systematically eliminate all these types of properties throughout the city. And the yin and the yang of this meeting is that we've entertained some of the finest architects and private sector companies in Southern California to invest in our city and with quality properties. And here we're dealing with the remnants of slumlords and absentee landlords that basically, because of their lack of care, it fosters crime and all kinds of other things. So yeah, thank you. Good. I'll close the public hearing, and I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2017-7874.
Second. Did it work?
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, report 5.2, resolution number 2017-7871, approving and adopting various personnel and job description changes and amending the city's FY 2017-19 salary schedule and the appointed management and confidential salary and benefits summary and position description and salaries for special events coordinator and assistant director of community development. Pursuant to Government Code Section 5495-3C3, the FY 2017-19 salary schedule and the appointed management and confidential salary and benefit summary includes the compensation increases for appointed management personnel. As part increases for appointed management personnel as part of this agenda item for City Council approval. And HR Manager Director Erica Cortez will give the presentation.
Good evening, Council. I know it's been a long night, so I'll make it quick. Very simple. I am happy first to announce that in previous meetings we've talked about cost sharing for Penton. It was a successful process. We've amended the contract and it's going to be December 8th, the effective date. Therefore, this is why I'm here to you today, because we need to incorporate those salary increases per the cost sharing into our salary schedule. That is one of CalPERS requirements. Also, periodically, we review job descriptions, so we try to bundle things to present to you to align all those job descriptions with the job duties that all the employees are doing. Jobs evolve, and we'll make sure we update them as needed. This also includes the approval and adoption of adding 2 job descriptions to our plan, which is the special events coordinator, which some of you know that we're currently recruiting for, and the assistant director of community development. This also adds them to the salary schedule and amends our appointed management confidential salary benefit just to codify everything. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you for the report. And this may be as much directed to City Manager Andy Hall as it is to you. In the city staffing, permanent staffing, these would be 2 actually permanent staffing. I mean, they're not temporary, they're not part-time, they're not of limited duration. Are there positions, FTEs, so to speak, that one or both of these are filling that are a result of reorganization, or are these new FTEs, full-time equivalent, staff, benefit, pension, etc. positions added on top of the existing staffing structure of the city?
Both of these would just be positions that would be added into our personnel realm. It's very possible that one or both of these positions would be filled in-house. But as we look at our structure, right now what we don't have is a deputy director for community development, and what we don't have right now is an events coordinator. One and or both of those may be filled in-house, so I'm not sure I can answer your question yet. I don't know if it'll be new personnel. It may not be.
Oh, actually the question really goes to the issue of whether we're expanding our workforce by 2 new positions in addition to the existing staffing and budget associated with that.
Great question. No, we are not expanding the number of staff. We are redefining positions. Correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I forgot to add, I'm sorry, you do have a last minute item agenda, and that was just to correct some typos. Okay.
So moved. Second.
Motion carried unanimously.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council, and I'll keep it brief as well. This is a continuation of a process we started at the last council meeting. This is the second step. You're basically approving the forms, legal forms, and we'll be submitting these forms to the Department of Finance. They go through a review process, and then we'll move on to the next step. So we would expect to be back in February, when we will actually have all the terms of the bonds, and you'll have another chance to review at that point as well. And then final issuance of the bonds would be not until March. This slide demonstrates what is actually in the resolution, mostly, like I said, the technical terms of the refinancing, the trustee, the escrow agreement. We also have a resolution with more maintenance. It's a requirement that the successor agency have a debt policy, and that's what that was to do. One of the updates on the refunding is, since the last meeting, actually interest rates have gone down. So the net present value of the savings has increased from 1.9 million up to 2.5 million. So that's the positive. On the other side, we're still not sure with the new tax reform law that was passed by the Senate and House, and still has yet to be reconciled, and how that will affect this. So we're still kind of up in the air on that. So we're playing it by the ear, but all this is not for naught. The work that we've done so far, we'll go ahead and submit that to the Department of Finance and see where that bill lies. So I actually have our bond counsel here if you have more detailed questions and would like to ask him, but really that's about where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. I appreciate you bringing up the new tax and how this could affect that, because that was the first thing that was sticking on my mind, and I know we didn't have any answers, but I'm happy that you're actually thinking about it, because it can definitely impact this significantly. So that's it.
No public speaker card.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Bragg. It didn't capture. Can we get an oral vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carried unanimously.
Turning a regular meeting and calling close to point of order. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember Spriggs?
Here.
Councilmember Patton?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bragg?
Here.
Mayor Dedina?